Chapter 564. Zhu Qingzhu had returned. More than 2 months ago, he suffered a humiliating defeat, and then completely shut himself in a small attic, ignoring everything and seeing no one. Yun Kalen had visited him several times, but he had rejected all of them. Even the Black Heaven sect and Immortal Abode Island had shut down all of their docks. In short, everyone felt that Zhu Qingzhu was going to live in seclusion from then on. On this day, Yun Kalen visited Zhu Qingzhu again. The door to Zhu Qingzhu's loft finally opened again. This time, Zhu Qingzhu met with Yun Kalen for more than an hour. Yun Kalen once again proposed to use martial artists to destroy Yang Dingtian and the Council of Light. He wanted Zhu Qingzhu to be the leader of the alliance and organize another expedition. He also said that the Cloud Sky Pavilion and Earth-Splitting City would give it their all. After Zhu Qingzhu met with Yun Kalen, he went to the Tiando League's meeting and made his first public speech since his defeat. He severely criticized Yang Dingtian and the Council of Light. Our Zhongzhou Expeditionary Force is attacking the west to stop the Tiando League from breaking apart. This is a just war. Even if he lost, Zhu Qingzhu felt that it was an honorable defeat. Therefore, this war is undoubtedly an internal conflict within the Tiando League. It's a quarrel between brothers. The Cloud Sky Pavilion participated in this war to stop the Tiando League from breaking apart. What is wrong with that? Yang Dingtian took the opportunity to attack the Cloud Sky Pavilion to take revenge. How can a narrow-minded person like him be qualified to carry the Tiando League's banner of righteousness? As soon as he said this, the leaders of the Tiando League looked at him with admiration. However, they were still cold in their hearts. Some people even thought that Zhu Qingzhu would attack Yang Dingtian again, after hearing Zhu Qingzhu's words. They wondered if Zhu Qingzhu would really be persuaded by Yun Kalen to attack Yang Dingtian again. If that was really the case, then don't blame them for leaving the stage. One had to know that among the hundreds of powers in the central state, all of the wealthiest ones were at the seaside. Everyone had seen Yang Dingtian's ancient giant beast. If you offended him, he might find you an eyesore one day. That giant beast could wander around the beach near your house. At least a year's worth of work would be wasted, and at least a few thousand people would die. If he completely sealed you off, you wouldn't be able to find your grave even if you cried. Therefore, everyone present had the same mentality. If you want to make a comeback, we won't stop you. We won't laugh at you in your face. We'll even applaud you. But you want us to contribute money, manpower, and manpower? Forget it then. You want us to attack Yang Dingtian? That was even more impossible. The Cloud Sky Pavilion sold their daughter to the Vulture sect, but we don't have to. Last time, it was all thanks to Yang Dingtian's magnanimity that he released the 8 million Central Province Great Army. Otherwise, after they were all killed, everyone's backbone would have been broken. Moreover, what everyone disdained was that after Zhu Qingzhu's defeat, he had been avoiding the question of his identity as a member of the evil ways. Before the battle, Zhu Qingzhu didn't explain, so no one dared to ask or question him. However, after the battle, Yang Dingtian said that Zhu Qingzhu was a member of the evil ways. Any power should draw a clear line with Zhu Qingzhu. Therefore, this became a crucial question. Are you Zhu Qingzhu, a member of the evil ways? You definitely can't avoid this question. Although everyone knew the answer, even if it was a lie, Zhu Qingzhu still had to give everyone an explanation. Who is Yang Dingtian? He is the disciple of junior martial brother Dongfang Minmi, and he has to call me martial uncle. Moreover, my son Zhu Hongxue was bewitched by him and became sworn brothers with him. Previously, he and I had a relationship of a senior and a junior. Moreover, we were like fire and water. There is only one reason. He thinks that I am a member of the evil ways. This is the biggest mistake in the world. I, Zhu Qingzhu, am the sect leader of the Black Sky sect. Why would I become a member of the lowly evil ways? This is the most shameless blasphemy and slander. One day, I will get justice from Yang Dingtian. When he said this, the listless leader's expressions changed. Zhu Qingzhu was finally willing to face the main topic. He was finally willing to face his identity as a member of the evil ways. Whether I am a member of the evil ways or not, Yang Dingtian, you don't have the right to say it. Of course, I, Zhu Qingzhu, also don't have the right to say it. Let reality speak for itself. Zhu Qingzhu said loudly. But before that, I have something to say to Yang Dingtian. You, Yang Dingtian, are using the name of justice to suppress me. You are trying to cover up the fact that you are a member of the same faction and usurp the Tiando League. You keep saying that I am a member of the evil ways and that you want to suppress me. I will bear with it. However, the Cloud Sky Pavilion is not a member of the evil ways. It is a righteous Tiando League, right? Your suppression of her is revenge. You are trying to corrupt Zhongzhou and usurp the authority of the Tiando League. Yang Dingtian, if you want revenge and slander, come at the Black Sky sect. Come at me, Zhu Qingzhu. The previous suppression of the Western region was my decision alone. It has nothing to do with anyone else. Therefore, don't try to suppress the Cloud Sky Pavilion in any way. Don't try to suppress any faction in Zhongzhou. If you want revenge, come at me. When he said this, everyone's expression changed. Even Yin Kailan was extremely grateful. He was almost in tears. Zhu Qingzhu's comeback directly took all the blame for the defeat and the crime of offending Yang Dingtian on himself. He completely disregarded all other factions and instantly gained the favor of all the factions present. Therefore, his comeback this time was perfect. Zhu Qingzhu's comeback speech and the official statement in the name of the Zhongzhou Tiando League were immediately sent to West Continent. Moreover, a large diplomatic team directly entered Zhongzhou to mediate the conflict and war between West Continent and the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Instantly, Yin Kailan's slogan became even louder. He kept saying that it was easy for Yang Dingtian to start the war, but it was not so easy to end it, unless Yang Dingtian disbanded the Council of Light and admitted to the crime of splitting the Tiando League in front of the world. Otherwise, Yang Dingtian would have the final say in the war. However, the end of the war would not be decided by him. Then, West Continent's Foreign Affairs Department started a tug-of-war with Zhongzhou. After the Cloud Sky Pavilion received the support of Zhongzhou's Zhu Qingzhu and the Vulture sect, they became even more ambitious. They started to publicly criticize Yang Dingtian's personal morality. For example, the reason Yang Dingtian attacked the Cloud Sky Pavilion was not for justice. It was because he failed to marry Yin Kailan's daughter, Yin Zhanu. Therefore, he attacked the Cloud Sky Pavilion and forced the Council of Light to step down. Then, Yin Kailan declared that a lecherous and shameless person like Yang Dingtian. He was daydreaming if he wanted to marry Yin Zhanu. A lowly thief who had committed incestuous acts wanted to marry the pure, noble, and beautiful young master of the Sky Cloud Pavilion. He was like a toad lusting after a swan. Yin Kailan was not as shameless as Qin Wancho to give his daughter to Yang Dingtian as a concubine. Moreover, Yin Kailan called on the people of West Continent to stand up against Yang Dingtian. She also called on Yang Peipei, Shimin, Yin Yan, and the other women to stand up and leave Yang Dingtian's cruel oppression. Of course, no matter how much Yin Kailan said, the negotiation between Yang Dingtian and Zhu Qingzhu continued in an orderly manner. The first negotiation ended in failure. Yang Dingtian only had one question for Zhu Qingzhu. You keep saying that you are not from evil ways. How can you prove it? If you want to mediate the conflict between the West Continent and the Cloud Sky Pavilion, prove your innocence first. After the news reached Zhu Qingzhu replied, whether I am from evil ways or not, I will use my actions to prove my innocence. However, Yang Dingtian wanted to prove that he did not want to usurp the Tiando League, so he immediately stopped attacking the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Then, Yang Dingtian announced that as long as Zhu Qingzhu could prove that he was not from evil ways, as long as Zhu Qingzhu could suppress evil ways and return to justice, the West Continent and the West Continent could unite and unite. Then, the Central Continent and the Western Continent would be able to unite against the outside world, and the internal strife within the Heavenly Law Alliance would be stopped. As for the Cloud Sky Pavilion's crimes, the West Continent could also forgive them to a certain extent and stop attacking the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Then, Zhu Qingzhu replied that he hoped Yang Dingtian would do as he said. As for his innocence, Yang Dingtian would be able to see it very soon. This tug-of-war of public opinion lasted for more than a month. Finally, one day, Zhu Qingzhu announced that the Taiyuan League would be holding a Taiyuan League assembly in Zhongzhou. This time, the West Continent sent Qin Wanchou and Song Chunhua to participate. At the Taiyuan League assembly, Zhu Qingzhu officially announced, "In order to prove my innocence, for the sake of justice in the world, from today onwards, the Black Heaven sect will do its best to eliminate all the remnants of evil ways in Zhongzhou." He also ordered the entire Heavenly Law Alliance in the Central Prefecture to unite and uproot the remaining forces of the evil Tao in the Central Prefecture. Zhu Qingzhu was from the righteous path. Evil ways were his sworn enemies. Zhu Qingzhu's declaration of war was like a bomb that exploded in the middle of the turbulent lake, shocking the world once again. Zhu Qingzhu had declared war on evil ways. Zhongzhou had once again become the focus of the world's attention. Zhu Qingzhu was a man of his word. After his declaration of war, all the elites of the Black Heaven sect came out in full force to hunt down all the forces of evil ways in Zhongzhou. Zhongzhou, which was already in a state of unrest, was once again plunged into a bloodbath. However, Zhu Qingzhu was serious this time. The evil Tao's forces were uprooted one after another, and their spies were caught one after another. Then, they were beheaded in public in front of everyone. In just half a month, thousands of people were killed. Thousands of heads were hung on the city gates of Zhongzhou. Moreover, all the spies of evil ways had solid evidence. Their heads and evidence were all displayed to the public. Almost the entire Zhongzhou was convinced that Zhu Qingzhu was truly an enemy of evil ways. However, Zhu Qingzhu was still fighting alone. No forces in Zhongzhou were willing to follow him. After killing a few thousand people, Zhu Qingzhu sent another external affairs team to the West Continent to express that Zhu Qingzhu had already proven his innocence and his determination to suppress the evil Tao. Therefore, it was time for Yang Dingtian to fulfill his promise and cease the war with the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Zhu Qingzhu was now standing under the banner of justice. Yang Dingtian replied, "Zhu Qingzhu, why are you only fighting the small demons and not the tiger? Therefore, your crusade against evil ways is just a pretense. Therefore, the Council of Light cannot stop the crusade against the Cloud Sky Pavilion. If he wanted to prove that he had truly broken away from evil ways, he would have to fight the biggest lackey of evil ways, Ning Wuming from the Ning clan." After he said that, everyone thought that Yang Dingtian was running away from his promise and wanted to take revenge on the Cloud Sky Pavilion. For the first time, the world's public opinion was on Zhu Qingzhu's side. Yang Dingtian was on the negative side of public opinion. The negotiation failed again. Zhu Qingzhu's mediation failed again. However, his reputation for justice rose again. After receiving Yang Dingtian's reply, Zhu Qingzhu immediately rebuked him. Yang Dingtian was trying to frame Ning Wuming. What evidence did he have to prove that Ning Wuming was from evil ways? The Ning clan was now a member of the Taiyuan League and the vice leader of the Middle State Taiyuan League. Yang Dingtian obviously did not want to stop the crusade against the Cloud Sky Pavilion and wanted to continue meddling in the Middle State. Stop trying to find excuses. After that, Zhu Qingzhu's massacre of the evil ways continued. Ning Wuming from the Ning clan also publicly rebuked Yang Dingtian. He said that Yang Dingtian was trying to frame him and that he was from evil ways. He was completely shameless. Suddenly, countless messengers went back and forth between the Middle State and the West Continent every day. Yang Dingtian, Zhu Qingzhu, and Ning Wuming argued with each other every day. As for Yun Kailan, he was the fiercest one. For the past few months, the whole world was filled with her voice every day. Her attacks on Yang Dingtian were even more blatant. She even said that Yang Dingtian had molested Madame Shimen. She was shameless to the extreme and did not deserve to be called a human. She even said that negotiations were meaningless and that they should be destroyed humanely. Moreover, the craziest thing was, Ning Wuming and Yun Kailan had actually formed an alliance through words. The two of them had been echoing each other from afar. Yun Kailan was completely crazy. If Zhu Qingzhu was from evil ways, it would be unclear. At most, it could only be said that Zhu Qingzhu and evil ways had cooperated before. However, Ning Wuming was from evil ways. Everyone knew that in their hearts. However, Yun Kalen had the Vulture sect as his backing. Moreover, he had just tasted the feeling of being able to do whatever he wanted. He felt that justice and evil ways were all based on his mouth. Whoever had the biggest power and loudest voice was justice. Even if it was evil, it was justice. Whoever had the smallest voice and the smallest power was evil. Justice was also evil. Yun Kalen felt that after grasping this truth, she no longer avoided interacting with Ning Wuming from evil ways. She felt that she had already become the person who held the power in this world. She felt that she could already blur the lines between justice and evil. She had already reached that level. Therefore, she had already publicly suggested that the Ning tribe of the South Sea join the Righteous Alliance to suppress Yang Dingtian and completely eliminate Yang Dingtian from the world. As for Ning Wuming, he gave a very positive response. He hoped to fight side by side with a brave and righteous person like Yun Kalen. Instantly, Yang Dingtian and Yun Kalen's intelligence were once again in awe. Can't you see that Zhu Qingzhu's words are becoming more and more distant from Ning Wuming? Yun Kalen, you're still getting closer. You really won't die if you don't seek death. Just like that, the war of words continued. However, the West Continent and the Cloud Sky Pavilion did not officially start a war, nor did they officially stop fighting. The Cloud Sky Pavilion's attacks on Yang Dingtian became more and more explicit and humiliating. In these few months, Yang Dingtian's reputation had been ruined to an unimaginable degree. A lie would become the truth, even if it was told 100 times. Now many people really believed that Yang Dingtian had humiliated his mother-in-law, Yang Peipei, and that the two of them really had an unclean relationship. However, Yang Peipei did not care much about this rumor. When she saw Yang Dingtian, she only smiled bitterly. Even that stupid woman Qin Jiaojiao joked that her husband was being slandered. Since you can't explain yourself, you might as well do it. That way, you won't be wronged. If you call Madame Shiman big sister one day, I'll find it very interesting. Then Qin Jiaojia was beaten up so badly that day. Her cries scared the baby to tears. After that, she could not get out of bed for 7 to 8 days. From her butt to her thighs, everything was swollen. Zhu Qingzhu's pursuit of the hidden forces of the evil Dao continued. Until one day, suddenly, one of the 27 factions of the Tiando League, the Eagle Nest, which had the second largest air force in the world, and the largest air force in the world, was completely wiped out overnight. That's right, completely wiped out. The entire Eagle Nest's main castle, which had close to 10,000 people, was completely wiped out. The Eagle Nest's Eagle Clan, which had more than 3,000 people, was completely wiped out. Regardless of gender, age, they were all slaughtered. The Eagle Nest's mayor was beheaded, skinned, and dismembered. At this point, the Eagle Clan, which had been passed down for 600 years, was completely wiped out and disappeared from the chaotic world. This news instantly shocked the world. Almost all the leaders of the Tiando League were horrified. Their hearts were filled with fear, and their limbs were cold. White Cloud City was wiped out. The Yi clan was wiped out. The Autumn Water Sword sect was wiped out. The Qiu clan was wiped out. However, there were signs. Yang Dingtian had also wiped out the Qiu clan openly. The Eagle Nest's entire clan was wiped out too suddenly. There were no signs at all. It was as if they were all wiped out overnight. Suddenly, all the signs pointed to Yang Dingtian. This was because the Eagle Nest had mobilized the entire Golden Condor army twice. Other than Zhu Qingzhu, it could be said that they had the deepest hatred for Yang Dingtian and Zhongzhou. Yang Dingtian had once wiped out the Autumn Water Sword sect in White Cloud City. Therefore, everyone's gaze fell on Yang Dingtian. They believed that Yang Dingtian was basically a suspect in this matter. As for Yun Kalen, he was even more direct. He said that Yang Dingtian had lost his mind and taken revenge by slaughtering the entire Eagle Nest's 10,000 people. For such a vicious and shameless person like Yang Dingtian, the central province should unite immediately and carry out the most thorough annihilation. The entire West Continent's Council of Light was also in a mess. The Council of Light obviously knew that Yang Dingtian had nothing to do with the extermination of the Eagle Nest's entire clan. Therefore, everyone was worried about how to win the war of public opinion. At this time, Qin Wanchou spoke. Don't worry, This matter has nothing to do with us. I know it has nothing to do with us. That's why I want to clear our names, Song Xiao said. Qin Wancho said, when I said it has nothing to do with us, it means that this matter will not be blamed on us. Even though Zhu Qingzhu is very tempted to do this, in the end, someone will definitely take the blame for this murderer. After the extermination of the eagle nest, Zhu Qingzhu vomited blood in public. He was furious and announced that no matter who had killed the entire eagle nest, he would do his best to find out the truth. Then, no matter who the murderer was, he would kill them all and bring justice to the eagle nest. Moreover, Zhu Qingzhu's words hinted at Yang Dingtian and the Council of Light many times. They also started to discuss forming a martial arts alliance to suppress Yang Dingtian and the Council of Light. Suddenly, Yun Kailan felt that the dawn of victory had arrived and was trembling with excitement. Then, he responded immediately and announced that the Cloud Sky Pavilion would do their best to kill Yang Dingtian. The second to respond was Ning Wuming. However, only the Ning clan and the Cloud Sky Pavilion responded. It wasn't that the other factions trusted Yang Dingtian, but that they were afraid. Even if it was Yang Dingtian who had done it, they wouldn't dare to do anything. Just when this case wasn't completely cleared up, the second massacre of a clan occurred again. In one night, more than 8,000 people on White Sand Island were completely massacred. Although White Sand Island wasn't a member of the Tiando League, they had always followed Zhu Qingzhu. In the previous battle against Yang Dingtian, White Sand Island had given their all. The White Sand Island Lord had also been skinned alive and had died a horrible death. Suddenly, more voices were pointing at Yang Dingtian. They felt that Yang Dingtian was the culprit behind the extermination of the Eagle Nest sect. Suddenly, Yin Kailan cried and wept at the Tiando League meeting. He begged the Zhongzhou Tiando League to immediately form a martial arts alliance to kill Yang Dingtian and seek justice for the tens of thousands of people who had died. Not long after, the third extermination of the Eagle Nest sect happened again. Maple Leaf Villa's 5,000 people were exterminated. The entire villa was wiped out. Maple Leaf Villa had also participated in the battle against Cloud Sky City. This time, at the Tiando League meeting, Yun Kailan knelt on the ground and begged the Zhongzhou Tiando League forces to form a martial arts alliance to suppress the Council of Light and Yang Dingtian. However, only the Ning clan of the South Sea responded. Kuei-si announced that if there was evidence to prove that Yang Dingtian was the culprit, he would do his best to kill Yang Dingtian. Furthermore, Kuei-si sent a message to the West Continent, asking Yang Dingtian to immediately come to the Zhongzhou Tiando League to be interrogated. There were already 3 extermination cases. The entire Zhongzhou forces were still indifferent to the suppression of Yang Dingtian. However, Yang Dingtian's fierce reputation had almost spread throughout the world. Almost everyone in the world really believed that these extermination cases were done by Yang Dingtian. As for the West Continent, Yang Dingtian still did not give any explanation. Just when everyone thought that Yang Dingtian would always bear this accusation, the situation suddenly took a turn for the better. The fourth extermination case happened immediately after. It happened at the most remote Dock 13 in the South Zhongzhou. There were more than 30,000 people, and half of them died. Why did only half of them die? Because Zhu Qingzhu and the other Black Sky sect experts arrived in time to save the remaining half of the people in the Dock 13. However, this was not a big deal. The most important thing was that the Ning tribe elder of the South Sea was found among the murderers. Although these murderers committed suicide immediately, Zhu Qingzhu still recognized one of them. It was the Ning tribe elder of the South Sea. Therefore, all the spearheads were pointed at the Ning tribe of the South Sea. The next day, Zhu Qingzhu ordered Ning Wuming of the Ning tribe to go to the headquarters of the Zhongjing Tiando League to be interrogated. Ning Wuming did not come. Following that, the hidden forces of the evil ways issued a statement. They said that the recent extermination cases were the revenge of the evil ways on Zhu Qingzhu. They ordered Zhu Qingzhu to stop killing the hidden forces of the temple immediately. Otherwise, the 5th and 6th sects would be exterminated. The murderers were finally revealed. It was the revenge of the evil ways, not Yang Dingtian. Everything pointed to one person, and that was the Ning tribe elder of the South Sea, Ning Wuming. At this time, the stupid and arrogant Yun Kalin finally realized what was going on. He felt a terrifying chill and an unknown danger. Another 5 days passed. A plague suddenly broke out in a city in South Zhengzhou. Tens of thousands of people died in a day. The hidden forces of the evil ways in Zhengzhou once again announced that they were responsible for this incident. They ordered Zhu Qingzhu to stop killing the evil ways immediately. Otherwise, a bigger plague would appear in Zhengzhou. At this time, Zhu Qingzhu finally caught a few important spies of the evil ways and forced them to confess. Then the biggest commander of the evil ways in Zhengzhou, Ning Wuming, finally revealed himself. Zhu Qingzhu vomited blood in public during the Tiando League conference. He also wrote a confession, saying that he had been deceived by Ning Wuming and had led the Ning tribe into the Tiando League. Then, Zhu Qingzhu called for the entire Zhengzhou Tiando League to be irreconcilable with the evil ways. He ordered the Zhengzhou Tiando League to unite with the West Continent Council of Light to exterminate all the hidden forces of the evil ways. He also ordered the Ning tribe of the South Sea to exterminate Ning Wuming. Zhu Qingzhu's declaration spread to the West Continent. Yang Dingtian immediately announced that since Zhu Qingzhu had killed Ning Wuming, then Yang Dingtian was willing to keep his promise and stop attacking the Sky Cloud Pavilion. Then the West Continent announced an official ceasefire with the Sky Cloud Pavilion. The bell of the Sky Cloud Pavilion's destruction began to ring. The fool had finally fallen into this terrible trap. Chapter 565. After Zhu Qingzhu's defeat in the naval battle, his reputation had almost been completely ruined. Thus, when he returned to Central State, he immediately chose to go into seclusion and shut himself in his pavilion. No matter how the outside world battered him, he would not come out. Why? It was to let everything calm down first. It was to prevent the situation from becoming even more complicated. It was to prevent the world from attacking him from all sides. So, what was he thinking during the time he was locked up? Taking revenge on Yang Dingtian? No, definitely not. Even though he wanted nothing more than to tear Yang Dingtian into pieces, he was only thinking of one thing. That was to regain control of Central State and regain his supreme authority in Central State. What should he do? If soft methods did not work, he couldn't possibly bribe them one by one, right? Now that Zhu Qingzhu's reputation had been completely ruined, he could not bend his back. Once he bent his back to the leader of a faction in Central State, he would never be able to straighten his back again. Moreover, power obtained through bribery was not reliable at all. Moreover, the leader of the faction in Central State had already been scared witless by Yang Dingtian. He might not even be able to bribe them. Using force would not work either. He could not use force to attack the various factions in Central State. First of all, Yang Dingtian was eyeing the western region covetously. Once Zhu Qingzhu made a move against the factions in Central State, it was guaranteed that the next day, these factions would all submit to Yang Dingtian in order to protect themselves. Then, Yang Dingtian would smoothly intervene in Central State. Of course, there was another method. That was to support a terrifying faction and launch a destructive attack on Central State. Then, Zhu Qingzhu would appear in the name of a savior and lead Central State to destroy this terrifying faction. Then, during this process, those who opposed him would become the terrifying faction. As for who would act as the terrifying faction, of course, it would be evil ways. However, there were two things that had to be taken note of. First, it could not be too sudden. If it was too sudden, others would see through it. It would be best to create the false impression that Zhu Qingzhu had no choice but to turn the tide and save everyone. Second, it had to be righteous and stop Yang Dingtian from speaking. It would prevent Yang Dingtian from interfering in Central State's affairs. Zhu Qingzhu waited for a long time, but could not find a good opportunity. Then the opportunity finally appeared. Yang Dingtian's punishment of the Cloud Sky Pavilion was endless. What was a real strategist? He could find an opportunity to break through a situation from a trivial matter. Zhu Qingzhu found an opportunity in the conflict between the Cloud Sky Pavilion and the West Continent. Of course, he was afraid that Yang Dingtian was putting on an act and setting up a trap. Therefore, even though he had found an opportunity, he still did not dare to act rashly. Later on, the conflict between the Cloud Sky Pavilion and Yang Dingtian intensified. In the end, it caused Yang Dingtian to destroy Nanning City's pier. The Cloud Sky Pavilion had launched a sneak attack on the southwest continent, resulting in countless casualties. After that, Yang Dingtian even launched a sneak attack on the Cloud Sky Pavilion's headquarters, destroying the Cloud Sky Pavilion that had existed for hundreds of years. After that, the Cloud Sky Pavilion even crazily attacked Fire Island in a suicidal manner. Zhu Qingzhu knew that these two families would not rest until one of them was dead. It was definitely not an act. Later on, the relationship between the Earth Vulture City and the Western Continent's Yang Dingtian fell out. The Black Vulture army of the Vulture sect left the southern barbarian continent and promised to protect the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Instantly, the entire situation became incomparably complicated. It was only at this point that Zhu Qingzhu clearly felt that his opportunity had come. Therefore, he sent Zhu Hongyu to the Western continent secretly to negotiate a truce with Yang Dingtian. The truce this time was merely a probing contact. There was an ulterior motive behind it. Zhu Qingzhu did not care about the truce with Yang Dingtian at all. As expected, Yang Dingtian proposed a condition. He wanted Zhu Qingzhu to break off his relationship with the evil ways and offer Ning Wuming's head as proof of his allegiance. This was within Zhu Qingzhu's expectations. This was because Yang Dingtian only knew how to do this. He wanted Qiu Wanjie to kill Zhu Hongli as proof of his allegiance. He wanted Qin Wanchou to kill Zhu Qingzhu's concubine as proof of his allegiance. Now, he wanted Zhu Qingzhu to kill Ning Wuming as proof of his allegiance. Zhu Hongyu naturally refused. However, after leaving the Western continent, he cursed Yang Dingtian in his heart for being an idiot. Then, Zhu Qingzhu saw that Yang Dingtian was still as childish as before. He had fallen into the trap. After Zhu Qingzhu received a reply, he immediately left the Black Heaven sect and secretly visited Wu Yuming. Even Zhu Hongyu did not know about this. Only Wu Yuming and Zhu Qingzhu knew. The two of them talked for an hour. Then, Wu Yuming came to the Western continent and tried to mediate the conflict between the Cloud Sky Pavilion and the Western continent. Of course, this was just in passing. More importantly, Wu Yuming brought his wife, Vulture, back to the Sea of Hades to visit his mother, Wu Yu. Then Zhu Qingzhu returned. His attitude was very righteous. He still mediated between Yang Dingtian and the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Moreover, his attitude was even more touching. He directly said that if Yang Dingtian had any problems, he could come at him directly. He did not want to touch the Cloud Sky Pavilion or anyone in the Middle Continent. Instantly, his words won many people's favor. Finally, no one booed his first appearance. Then he took the second step. It was as if he was forced by Yang Dingtian to save the Cloud Sky Pavilion. In order to prove his innocence, Zhu Qingzhu began to eliminate the evil way's hidden forces in the Middle Continent. After a few days of killing, he killed thousands of people. Instantly, Zhu Qingzhu washed away half of the evil way's color. Then there was the destruction of the Eagle Nest, White Sand Island, and Maple Leaf Villa. Who did these destruction? Of course, it was the terrifying forces of the evil ways. However, Zhu Qingzhu was not satisfied. At first, he still pointed all the blame at Yang Dingtian. If he could incite the anger of the Middle Continent's forces, it would be the best result for him to send martial artists to suppress Yang Dingtian. Currently, the Black Heaven sect alone could not destroy the Western Continent's martial arts forces. However, if they gathered all the martial arts forces in the Middle Continent, they could still do it. If these destruction could gather the martial arts forces in the Middle Continent again and suppress Yang Dingtian, then he might as well take the opportunity to suppress Yang Dingtian again. However, the forces in the Middle Continent were scared out of their wits by Yang Dingtian. Several times, only the Cloud Sky Pavilion and the Ning clan responded to the suppression of Yang Dingtian. Therefore, Zhu Qingzhu had no choice but to carry out this conspiracy according to the original plan. In the fourth destruction, he finally found the culprit. It was a massacre caused by the evil ways. Their purpose was to take revenge on Zhu Qingzhu for purging the evil ways' hidden forces. Then, the terrifying forces of the evil ways launched an even crazier counterattack. They created a plague and killed tens of thousands of people. Then the mastermind of the evil ways in the Middle Continent was gradually exposed. It was Ning Wuming of the Ning clan in the South Sea. This was an answer that no one was surprised by. It was completely reasonable. Then, holding the banner of absolute justice, Zhu Qingzhu began to control the forces in the Middle Continent again. Was there a more righteous name than eliminating the hidden forces of the evil ways? In the next few days, the counterattack of the terrifying forces of the evil ways in the Middle Continent became even crazier. The number of destruction and plague incidents increased. Suddenly, the entire Middle Continent was in a state of panic. Zhu Qingzhu began to gather the forces in the Middle Continent to form a crusade against the evil ways. He wanted to completely eliminate the hidden forces of the evil ways in the Middle Continent and fight against the evil ways and Ning Wuming to the end. Of course, if you didn't join at this time, then sorry, the next destruction of the evil ways would be your family. Therefore, in order to save their lives, the forces in the Middle Continent once again gathered under Zhu Qingzhu's name. Zhu Qingzhu once again had the power to call the wind and summon the rain in the Middle Continent. Therefore, no matter which plane or which world, terrorism was the best banner. This country was disobedient. It was simple. Create a terrifying force with the left hand and control the anti-terrorism force with the right hand. Whoever disobeyed, let the terrifying force beat them up. Then they would obediently go to the country and ask for help. Of course, some people would say that a country couldn't win against a terrifying force. Of course, there were also elite members of the special forces in the terrifying force. The methods used by Zhu Qingzhu had been used so many times on Earth. However, good methods were always tried and tested. Moreover, among the current big shots in the chaotic world, only Zhu Qingzhu could play with the evil ways and the Tiando League. The crusade against the evil ways in the Middle Continent was still in full swing. The power in Zhu Qingzhu's hands was getting more and more terrifying. That was because his methods of struggle had been upgraded. Previously, if you didn't join me, the terrifying force of the evil ways would destroy your family. Later on, when eliminating the infiltrators of the evil ways, they would occasionally capture captives and even get a list of names. This made people's hearts jump, because what would these captives say? Only the geniuses would know. Only the heavens knew who would be on the list of the infiltrators of the evil ways. The first time they captured a captive, he spat out Ning Wuming's name. Everyone acknowledged the authority of the captive's words. After all, Ning Wuming was the leader of the evil ways in the Middle Continent. Everyone knew this. Therefore, as long as the captive did not spit out too many names, it would naturally be authoritative. Therefore, later on, if the forces in the Middle Continent did not listen to him, they would become infiltrators of the evil ways. Zhu Qingzhu would then use the banner of justice to destroy them. How frightening would the consequences be? Therefore, in order to prevent themselves and their families from becoming infiltrators of the evil ways, all the forces in the Middle Continent once again lay low under Zhu Qingzhu's feet and did not dare to resist. Through the banner of the anti-evil ways, Zhu Qingzhu once again held the supreme power in the Middle Continent. In fact, this time, he held even more power. This was because the list of infiltrators of the evil ways was like the sword of Deimos, hanging over the heads of the forces in the Middle Continent. It could fall at any time. After regaining control of the forces in the Middle Continent, Zhu Qingzhu laughed at the sky in the Black Heaven sect and said, "Yang Dingtian." Yes, he really had to thank Yang Dingtian for his childishness. Without Yang Dingtian's cooperation, his road to power would not have been so smooth. The crusade against the infiltrators of the evil ways in the Middle Continent was still in full swing. However, it was clear that they had achieved a temporary victory, because the counterattacks of the evil ways were getting weaker and weaker. Then one day, Zhu Qingzhu announced at the Tiando League conference that the Middle Continent had achieved a decisive victory in eliminating the evil ways. Next, he was preparing to launch an expedition against the Ning clan of the South Sea, to completely eliminate the only military base of the evil ways in the chaotic world. Then, Zhu Qingzhu sent an envoy to the West Continent again, to invite Yang Dingtian's Council of Light to join the battle. This world was too ridiculous. Zhu Qingzhu invited Yang Dingtian to join the crusade against the Ning clan of the South Sea, Ning Wuming. Moreover, Zhu Qingzhu emphasized that Yang Dingtian's ancient giant beast should join the battle as well. For a moment, Yang Dingtian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It was not good to reject, but it was also not good to accept. What if he rejected? What about Yang Dingtian's righteous heart? You said that you wanted to eliminate the evil ways. And now it's time to eliminate the leader of the evil ways. You don't want to go? But what if he agreed? Everyone knew that Zhu Qingzhu and Ning Wuming were in cahoots. If he really went, he would be in deep trouble. The Council of Light is duty-bound to eliminate the evil ways and Ning Wuming, Yang Dingtian said firmly. However, the Council of Light is the highest authority in the Tiando League. We cannot listen to Zhu Qingzhu's command. On the other hand, Zhu Qingzhu is only the leader of the Black Heaven sect. He should listen to the leader of the Hidden sect. In other words, Yang Dingtian agreed to join the crusade against the Ning clan of the South Sea, but he wanted the highest authority. The envoy returned to the Middle Continent and reported Yang Dingtian's words to Zhu Qingzhu. Zhu Qingzhu sighed. Yang Dingtian has also become evil. It's not easy to fool him anymore. When all the terrifying forces of the evil Tao pointed at Ning Wuming, Yun Kailan sensed a terrifying aura, no matter how stupid or slow he was. Thus she no longer jumped up and down. After signing the armistice with the West Continent, she immediately withdrew into the Cloud Sky Plateau. This was really a form of deceiving oneself. It was as if she hid in a cloth bag, so that no one would come looking for her. Hence, after Zhu Qingzhu raised the banner of eliminating the evil ways and regained control of the Middle Continent. However, there were still two factions that did not listen to Zhu Qingzhu's command. The first faction was Kuei Si from the Earth-splitting city. This person was stubborn and upright. He had always disliked Zhu Qingzhu. How could he listen to Zhu Qingzhu's command? Hence, during a few crusades against the evil ways, Kuei Si ignored Zhu Qingzhu's invitation letter and even tore it up. As for the Cloud Sky Pavilion, they sealed off the pier and the mountain gate in an attempt to isolate themselves from the world. Hence, they also ignored Zhu Qingzhu's letter. Of course, there were a few times when Yun Zhenu left the Cloud Sky Plateau and went to the Vulture sect in the southern barbarian continent. As if they had received an affirmative answer, the Cloud Sky Pavilion's southern ocean pier opened again. The mountain gate of the Cloud Sky Pavilion opened again. Zhu Qingzhu started to gather the martial artists' forces and prepared to attack the Ning clan in the South Sea. However, the Ning clan in the South Sea was isolated and thousands of miles away. They needed the strongest flying cavalry army and the strongest navy. Hence, Zhu Qingzhu wrote 2 letters and sent them to the Earth-splitting city and the Cloud Sky Pavilion. He requested the Earth-splitting city to send out the Demon Eagle army and the Cloud Sky Pavilion to send out the Crystal Demon ships. Together, they would attack the Ning clan in the South Sea. These two were the lifeblood of the Earth-splitting city and the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Furthermore, it was obvious that they would not be able to return. In the previous naval battle, Zhu Qingzhu had already tasted the pain of lacking a powerful navy and air force. He also saw the Cloud Sky Pavilion sneak attack the West Continent and beat up Yang Dingtian so badly that he could not fight back. Moreover, Zhu Qingzhu knew about Yang Dingtian's demonic fire phoenix. If it was not for the huge fire, the demonic fire phoenix would just be a pet that was useless. As for that ancient giant beast, when he thought about it, he realized that Yang Dingtian's control over it was rather ordinary. Hence, after obtaining the Demon Eagle army and the Crystal Demon ships, Zhu Qingzhu had a huge advantage over Yang Dingtian's military forces. Hence, Zhu Qingzhu was also determined to obtain the Demon Eagle army and the Crystal Demon ships. Regarding Zhu Qingzhu's invitation, Earth-splitting cities Kuei Si replied with a simple no. As for Yun Kailan's reply, it was still so unique. Her reply was, "Who are the evil ways? Only God knows." In her words, she was actually hinting at Zhu Qingzhu. After Zhu Qingzhu received Yun Kailan's reply, he was furious. "Fuck you, Yun Kailan, bitch. You really bite whoever you see. Yang Dingtian is really useless. How can he endure being scolded like this? At the Tiando League conference, Zhu Qingzhu announced that Yang Dingtian would also participate in the crusade against the Ning clan in the South Sea. Although there was still a dispute over the command, His Excellency Yang Dingtian's determination in the cause of justice was worth learning from. Then, Zhu Qingzhu expressed his regret for Earth-Splitting City and the Sky Cloud Pavilion's refusal. However, he announced that even if Earth-Splitting City and the Sky Cloud Pavilion refused to participate in the war, even without the Demon Eagle Army and the Crystal Demon ships, he would still lead Zhongzhou's martial arts forces to continue the crusade against the Ning clan in the South Sea. Moreover, he would definitely not hold a grudge against the Sky Cloud Pavilion and Earth-Splitting City. Then, Zhongzhou's crusade against the Ning clan in the South Sea was in full swing. The Zhongzhou army was gathering more and more. The date of the crusade against the Ning clan in the South Sea was getting closer and closer. Just as everyone thought that Zhu Qingzhu would lead the army of martial artists to the South Sea to attack the Ning clan in the South Sea, suddenly, a shocking attack occurred in a coastal city in the South Zhongzhou. A terrifying plague killed more than 100,000 people. One of Zhu Qingzhu's wives was building a castle in this city to take in all the orphans in the South Zhongzhou. After the plague, everyone in the castle died, including Zhu Qingzhu's third wife. Then the evil ways of infiltration claimed responsibility for this incident. They also announced that if Zhu Qingzhu did not stop the crusade against the Ning clan in the South Sea, more plagues would break out in Zhongjing. Therefore, the crusade against the Ning clan in the South Sea was temporarily stopped. The entire Zhongzhou was focused on eliminating the remaining forces of the evil ways of infiltration in Zhongzhou and preventing the outbreak of plagues in Zhongjing. Just like that, the terrible plagues continued to break out. Although the scale was small, more than 10,000 people died each time. Often, villages disappeared one after another. Suddenly, the entire Zhongzhou was in a state of panic. Many people even began to flee Zhongjing. This was because the evil ways of infiltration said that they would carry out the largest plague attack in Zhongjing. Until one day in the middle of the night, someone, an expert from the Central Prefecture's Heavenly Law Union, intercepted an extremely fast warship 300 miles away from the Central Prefecture's Western Sea region. There was a horrifying corpse on the warship, which was covered with countless horrifying bugs. Then in the sky west of Zhongjing, a demon vulture warrior was intercepted. This demon vulture warrior was carrying a jade coffin. Inside the coffin was a terrifying corpse. The corpse was covered with countless terrifying bugs. After some research, the bugs on the corpse were the source of the horror. The fast warship came from the Cloud Sky Pavilion. The fast demon vulture came from the Earth-Splitting City. Evil ways of infiltration used crystal warships and demon vulture warriors to drop plague corpses. No wonder they were everywhere. Suddenly, all the spearheads were pointed at the Earth-Splitting City and the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Then, when the evil ways of infiltration were eliminated, they seized a list that was not burned. There were two names on it. One was Hewan X, the other was Yin Jun X. The last word of the two names was burned. But everyone could see that the first name was Hewan Qing, and the second name was Yin Jianu. Who was Hewan Qing? She was Kuei Si's wife and Kuei Ning's mother. Yin Jianu of course knew better. She was Yin Kalin's illegitimate daughter. In the list of evil ways of infiltration, these two names appeared. That meant that these two people were infiltrators of evil ways. Suddenly, all the spearheads were pointed at the Cloud Sky Pavilion and the Earth-Splitting City. The Cloud Sky Pavilion and the Earth-Splitting City became the cause of the plague. They became the culprits that killed millions of innocent people in Zhongzhou. So countless family members of the victims began to gather in Zhongjing, shouting loudly, "Destroy the Earth-Splitting City! Destroy the Cloud Sky Pavilion! Execute Hewan Qing! Execute Yin Jianu!" Then, the leaders of the forces in Zhongzhou also began to publicly call for internal control before external control. Send troops to the Earth-Splitting City. Send troops to the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Execute Hewan Qing. Execute Yin Jianu. Suddenly, Zhu Qingzhu's plan, which had been planned for a few months, finally came to fruition. Destroy the Earth-Splitting City. Destroy the Cloud Sky Pavilion. monopolize the entire Ingzhou continent, obtain the demon vulture army, and obtain the crystal warships. And this was Zhu Qingzhu's plan from the beginning. It was also something that he had discussed with Li Ming. The western region belonged to Ning Wuming, and Zhengzhou belonged to Zhu Qingzhu. But Zhu Qingzhu coveted the western region. After he was badly injured, he took a turn and returned to his original position. Chapter 566. It's not that I don't understand. It's just that the world is changing too quickly. The changes in the situation in the past few months are really dazzling. Especially those who dislike Yang Dingtian. During the conflict between the Cloud Sky Pavilion and Yang Dingtian, they couldn't help but think of the Cloud Sky Pavilion as Yin Kalin. In those few months, she was in the limelight. She scolded Yang Dingtian so badly that he was covered in dirt. She also sentenced Yang Dingtian to 99 major crimes. Yang Dingtian didn't refute her at all. Then, her crystal demon fleet attacked the West Continent. They attacked wherever they wanted. The West Continent's fleet couldn't catch up at all. After receiving the support of the Vulture sect, she became even more valiant. She completely defeated Yang Dingtian. Moreover, with the support of the Vulture sect, Zhu Qingzhu, and Ning Wuming, she was in the limelight for a while. There were no magazines in this world. Otherwise, Yin Kalin would be on the front page every day. If there was Time magazine, she would be on the cover many times. She would definitely be the person of the year. However, people without a foundation could only be said to rise and fall abruptly. For some reason, in the blink of an eye, she had become the main culprit behind the plague in Central State. Her illegitimate daughter had actually become a spy for the evil Tao. How did the righteous Cloud Sky Pavilion suddenly become a pawn of evil ways? How did they become a heinous dark organization? As for Zhu Qingzhu, he was originally involved with evil ways. How did he suddenly become a hero of justice? That was why people who couldn't recognize their own faces were the scariest. If someone gave you a stage, you wouldn't care if it was a trap. You would just jump on it and dance happily. In the end, you would fall into a bottomless abyss when the stage was removed. This drama lasted for a few months. The main director was Qin Wanqiu, the assistant director was Zhu Qingzhu, and the main lead was Yin Kalin. The two of them worked together to dig a big hole and trap the idiot Yin Kalin. Of course, they also trapped Kuei. At this time, the evidence in Zhengzhou was getting more and more conclusive. The Demon Eagle warriors from Fisher City, who used to release the plague corpses, belonged to, and the Crystal Demon warship, which belonged to the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Everything was clear. Moreover, the people on the warship was captured. They also confessed that Yin Kalin's cooperation with Ning Wuming had completely joined the evil ways. No one was surprised by this. Back when they were fighting against Yang Dingtian, Yin Kalin and Ning Wuming were fighting fiercely. The two of them had the same voice, and it was a resounding battle friendship. In fact, Yin Kalin and Ning Wuming often went in and out of Zhongjing together. This scene was still fresh in everyone's mind. Now that he was saying that Yin Kalin had colluded with the evil Tao, he was not surprised at all. Within a castle on the Cloud Sky Plateau, Yin Kalin seemed to have aged 20 years. His waist, which was sitting cross-legged on the ground, was completely bent. Her she's titas the past few months were like a dream. Yin Kalin had always been a loner, so she wasn't popular in the Taekwondo League. Other than Kuei, she was a loner. Recently, maybe because of a strange combination of factors, or maybe someone added fuel to the fire, she stepped onto the stage of the center of the world and became the focus of the entire world. It was a great feeling. Countless people were looking at her, or even looking up to her. Every word you say will be heard by countless people, and countless people will pass it on to them. It was great to be the center of the stage, and be the center of attention. As if she was addicted, Yin Kalin enjoyed this feeling. She felt that everything else had lost its flavor, including her relationship with Kuei. After getting addicted, she was afraid of losing this feeling, so she tried her best to increase her popularity and presence. She chose the most direct method, which was to step on Yang Dingtian's head and climb up the ranks. Yin Kalin was self-taught. She found the essence of hype in an instant. Wang Shuo was going to release a new book, So he started to step on Jin Yong and start a war of words. His popularity skyrocketed. However, Wang Shuo knew very well that this was just a show. Don't take it seriously. After the book was sold, he turned around and left, leaving behind a trail of chicken feathers. However, Yin Kalin used her life to act. After stepping on Yang Dingtian's head and gaining the attention of the entire world, she suddenly felt that she had great power. Zhu Qingzhu was supporting her, the vulture sect was supporting her, and Ning Wuming was following her blindly. In order to maintain this power, she could only become more and more explicit, and her table manners became uglier and uglier. From the crime of breaking up the Tiando League, to the scandal of Yang Dingtian molesting Mrs. Shimin, she knew it was fake. She also knew that if she talked about this kind of thing, it would affect her image and make the world look down on her. However, she had no choice. In order to maintain her presence, she had to play the game of edge ball. For power, she didn't care about her image. Therefore, Yin Kalin acted as if she had taken poison. She became more and more intense and couldn't stop herself. In the end, she fell into a bottomless abyss. Suddenly she said in a daze, Am I a clown? I've been jumping up and down in the limelight recently, but in reality, am I a clown? After realizing this, Yin Kalin instantly aged 10 years. After calming down, she realized that Zhu Qingzhu had dug a big hole for her to jump into. Zhu Qingzhu was treating her like an idiot. Therefore, Yin Kalin aged another 10 years. She even felt that life was meaningless. Mother, you have to pull yourself together. Yin Zhenu said. We can't sit and watch the Cloud Sky Pavilion be destroyed. We can't sit and watch Zhu Qingzhu frame us like this. Yin Kalin raised her head. Yes, this can't go on. It doesn't matter if I die, but I can't let the Cloud Sky Pavilion be destroyed in my hands. I can't let my daughter be destroyed in my hands. We still have the Vulture Sect. I'm going to marry Lingxi now. The Vulture Sect won't sit and watch, Yin Zhenu said. Once the Vulture Sect says something, Zhu Qingzhu won't be able to do anything to us. Yin Kalin perked up and said, Yes, let's go to the Vulture Sect and find young Master Lingxi. He can save the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Suddenly, an elder of the Cloud Sky Pavilion said, Pavilion Master, should we go and find Yang Dingtian? After all, Yang Dingtian is still the only one who can compete with Zhu Qingzhu. For the sake of the world's righteous path, perhaps Yang Dingtian will help us. No, Yin Kalin said sternly. Yang Dingtian and I are irreconcilable. I'd rather die than beg Yang Dingtian. I'd rather the Cloud Sky Pavilion fall into Zhu Qingzhu's hands than Yang Dingtian's. I don't want to either, Yin Zhenu said. I'll never forget Yang Dingtian's disgraceful behavior. Moreover, Yang Dingtian is nothing compared to the Vulture Sect. Not going to the Vulture Sect, but begging Yang Dingtian, is completely neglecting the essentials. Instantly, the elder of the Cloud Sky Pavilion sighed and didn't say anything else. The Cloud Sky Pavilion wasn't full of idiots. For example, Elder Yun Qi had sensed danger when she heard that Wu Yuming had brought his wife back to the Sea of Hades. However, Yin Kalin was very stubborn and wouldn't listen. In addition, the Vulture Sect had supported the Cloud Sky Pavilion a few times. In the end, they even let the Black Vulture Corps leave the southern barbarian continent. Yang Dingtian was scared out of his wits. However, Elder Yun Qi was usually quiet and didn't have much charisma. An hour later, Yin Zhenu rode on a black vulture and flew towards the Vulture Sect. The Vulture City gave Yang Dingtian a demon vulture king. The Vulture Sect was also very generous and gave Yin Zhenu a black vulture queen. This black vulture queen was a few times bigger than the other black vultures. Its flying speed was extremely shocking. In 2 hours it covered about 2,000 miles. During this period, she had flown to the Vulture Sect countless times. However, every time she went to the Vulture Sect, she could feel the power of the Vulture Sect. It was indeed the strongest force in the world. It could completely turn the situation of the world around. Therefore, every time she went to the Vulture Sect, Yun Zhenu sighed at the power and low profile of the Vulture Sect. The Vulture Sect was so powerful that it could control the fate of the world. Young Master Lingxi was still so low profile. As for Yang Dingtian, When he was in Cloud Sky City, he jumped up and down like a clown. Comparing the two of them, it was like comparing heaven and earth. Moreover, every time she went to the Vulture sect, Yun Zhenyu felt very happy. This was because the entire Vulture sect welcomed her and respected her. They even treated her as the future mistress of the Vulture sect. The little princess of the Vulture sect even called her sister-in-law. Moreover, the extremely strict old ancestor Wulingzi, one of the only 2 half-sages in the world, also received her many times. His attitude was kind and amiable, as if he was talking to a close junior. There were even a few times when Wu Lingzi had proposed marriage for Lingxi, inviting Yun Zhenyu to marry Lingxi to fulfill Lingxi's infatuation. At that time, Yun Zhenyu felt numb all over. This feeling was very strange and very honorable. Although she didn't agree, this didn't stop her from enjoying this feeling. As they were about to reach the Vulture sect, Yun Zhenyu couldn't help but feel slightly nervous. This time was different from before. This time, she was slandered as a spy of the evil ways, and the Cloud Sky Pavilion was slandered as a lackey of the evil ways. Moreover, it seemed that the evidence was conclusive. Would the Vulture sect still help her? Would young Master Lingxi still help her? This time, when she entered the Vulture sect, would she still be able to enjoy the feeling of being the future mistress? After passing through the thick black fog and countless black vulture spaces, Yun Zhenyu rushed into the space of the Vulture sect. The Vulture sect was still like a fairyland. It was still so mysterious and powerful, as if it controlled the fate of the world. After entering the space of the Vulture sect, no one came to welcome her. Yun Zhenyu suddenly felt a chill in her heart. In the past, every time she came, there would be countless people riding black vultures to welcome her and fawn on her. Right at this moment, a white crane flew over from afar with Lingxi sitting on it. Lingxi looked elegant and carefree, as though nothing had happened. He was still as gentle as ever. The moment he saw Yun Zhenyu, he said gently, "Silly girl, if you want to cry, just cry it out." After hearing this, Yun Zhenyu immediately broke down and cried loudly. Lingxi didn't take the opportunity to take advantage of her, nor did he hug her. He only patted her shoulder gently. Yun Zhenyu's heart was filled with warmth. She said gently, "Lingxi, please save the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Zhu Qing wants to harm us, and Yang Dingtian is also adding fuel to the fire. After this incident, I will definitely repay you." Lingxi smiled gently. "How will you repay me?" Yun Zhenyu said softly. "I will do everything I can to repay you." "No," Lingxi said. "Nua, you know that I want to marry you. However, my love will never be used for a transaction. The Cloud Sky Pavilion's matter is my matter. I will do my best. Anyone who wants to harm the Cloud Sky Pavilion will have to go through the Vulture sect first. Whether it is Zhu Qingzhu or Yang Dingtian, the Vulture sect doesn't care about them. I would like to see who dares to touch the Cloud Sky Pavilion with the Vulture sect around." Yun Zhenyu was stunned. Lingxi's face was gentle, but his words were domineering. This was what a hero should be like. This was what a man should be like. Compared to Yang Dingtian's arrogant and ignorant face, Lingxi was like a clown. Instantly, Yun Zhenyu felt like her heart was about to melt. "Thank you, brother Lingxi," Yun Zhenyu said gently. "I will go and report this to my mother, and tell her not to worry. Then, we will deal with everything calmly and wait for the Vulture sect to seek justice for us." "No, you have to seek justice," Lingxi said. "Newer, don't forget that you have the Vulture sect behind you. You can't be bullied so easily. Go and tell Pavilion Master Yin and Pavilion Master Kuei. The two of you have a deep relationship with me. I will protect you until the end. Not only must you not back down, you must fight Zhu Qingzhu until the end. I will not allow them to frame you as the evil ways. I will not allow you to be wronged." Tears rolled down Yun Zhenyu's cheeks as she said softly, "Brother Lingxi, I will always remember your kindness to me. I will go to Zhongzhou now and meet Zhu Qingzhu." Lingxi said, "I don't believe that a mere Zhu Qingzhu would dare to distort the truth. I will tell my mother and Pavilion Master Kuei. Let them fight Zhu Qingzhu until the end." Yun Zhenyu said. After Yun Zhenyu went to meet Wulingzi, she left the Vulture sect with Lingxi. When they reached the surface of the sea, the two of them said goodbye reluctantly. Yun Zhenyu returned to the Cloud Sky Pavilion, while Lingxi went to Zhongjing. After receiving the vulture sex affirmation, Yun Kailan was filled with fighting spirit. After Lingxi went to Zhongjing and met with Zhu Qingzhu, the effect was obvious. Zhu Qingzhu immediately went limp. The cries of killing in the entire central continent also weakened. Originally, he wanted to destroy the earth-shattering city, destroy the Cloud Sky Pavilion, and execute slave Yun Jun. Instead, Zhu Qingzhu openly said that the evil ways were cunning. Therefore, it was possible that they were framed. After that, Zhu Qingzhu weakly requested for Yun Kailan, or Kuei Si, to come to Zhongjing, so that everyone could talk things out. Then, they would form an investigation team to investigate the entire matter. If earth-shattering city and Cloud Sky Pavilion were really wronged, then Zhu Qingzhu would definitely apologize personally. Soon the joint investigation team was formed. The Vulture sect was a neutral transcendental force, and Lingxi was the leader of the investigation team. Suddenly, the situation was in Cloud Sky Pavilion's favor again. Yun Kailan went to Zhongjing to participate in the Tiando League conference. Before the conference, she met Lingxi again. After leaving Lingxi's meeting room, Yun Kailan's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. During the Tiando League conference, Yun Kailan's attitude was unyielding and aggressive. Zhu Qingzhu, you and Yang Dingtian are in cahoots. Evil ways are used to frame the Cloud Sky Pavilion and the earth-splitting city. Don't think that I don't know about it. Yun Kailan pointed at Zhu Qingzhu and said, with the Vulture sect to uphold justice, your conspiracy will not succeed. Zhu Qingzhu's expression changed. He laughed and said, Pavilion Master Yin, you must be joking. Everyone knows that Yang Dingtian and I are irreconcilable. Hehe, the two of you are shameless and despicable. There is nothing that you won't do for the sake of your common interests. Yun Kailan said. On the third day after the Cloud Sky Pavilion attacked the southwest mainland, you sent Zhu Hongyu to the west mainland to have a secret meeting with Yang Dingtian. Is that true? Zhu Qingzhu's expression changed drastically. He shook his head and said, no, that's definitely not true. But we have evidence, Yun Kailan said sternly. After that, Yun Kailan questioned and scolded Zhu Qingzhu and Yang Dingtian. In the end, Zhu Qingzhu's face turned pale, and he looked miserable. In short, Yun Kailan said that Zhu Qingzhu and Yang Dingtian were in cahoots. Evil ways are used to frame the Cloud Sky Pavilion and the earth-splitting city in an attempt to steal the Demon Vulture army and the demonic crystal warship. Qin Wancho, who was in the conference, was furious. He said, Pavilion Master Yin, if you want to punish Zhu Qingzhu, then punish him. Don't drag our sect leader Yang into this. What sect leader Yang? Who knows what Yang Dingtian's identity is? Yun Kailan said, this person talks about righteousness, but he is a thief and a prostitute. In order to get the demonic crystal warship, he lusted after beautiful women and forced my daughter, Yun Zhenyu, to marry him. In the end, he couldn't take it by force, so he conspired with Zhu Qingzhu to kill us. Then he split the loot with Zhu Qingzhu. Yang Dingtian got the Demon Vulture army, while Zhu Qingzhu got the demonic crystal warship. Such a despicable and shameless person actually pretended to be the leader of the Yin sect. He really doesn't know what shame is. Zhu Qingzhu coughed and said, the investigation team's conclusion is not out yet. Sect leader Yin, your conclusion is too early. Young Master Lingxi is righteous and wise. I firmly believe that the investigation team will prove the innocence of the Cloud Sky Pavilion and the earth-splitting city. They will definitely reveal the ugly faces of Zhu Qingzhu and Yang Dingtian. Yun Kailan said, when the investigation team's conclusion is out, I will definitely ask the Vulture sect to give me an explanation. You and Yang Dingtian, I will not let either of you go. What if the investigation team's conclusion is still the same? Zhu Qingzhu asked. Impossible. Yun Kailan said. Young Master Lingxi is the epitome of righteousness. His investigation will definitely prove my innocence. It will definitely be the truth. If the final conclusion is that the Cloud Sky Pavilion is the lackey of evil ways, I will be destroyed by the heavens and earth. I will lose my reputation and be crushed into pieces. Lingxi smiled at Yun Kailan and said, don't worry. The The investigation team has already found a clue. In less than 10 days, they will definitely give the world an answer. Yin Kalen smiled at Lingxi and said, "Then we shall wait and see. I will return to the Cloud Sky Pavilion now and prepare for war. Once my innocence is proven, I will immediately seek justice from Zhu Qingzhu." Then, Yin Kalen returned to the Earth-splitting city and started to assemble the demonic crystal warships. Once the investigation team's conclusion was out, they would attack Zhu Qingzhu and even Yang Dingtian. Suddenly, Yin Kalen returned to the center of the stage and became the center of attention. As for Yin Zhenu, she was stationed in Zhongjing. She often went to all kinds of events with Lingxi. They were like a perfect couple. Lingxi was of noble status. His cultivation was high and his temperament was extraordinary. Countless young ladies in Zhongjing were envious of Yin Zhenu. Yin Zhenu often appeared beside Lingxi and made countless young ladies jealous. As for Yin Zhenu, she was completely intoxicated by the envious atmosphere. The temperament of a monk who had no desires gradually faded away. There was one more day before the investigation team would announce the results. That night, Lingxi accompanied Yin Zhenu to have a romantic dinner by the sea. Then, he sent the beauty back to the pavilion. During this period of time, although both of them went in and out together, they were still polite. Instantly, Yin Zhenu admired Lingxi even more. After returning to the pavilion, Lingxi left. As Yin Zhenu could not sleep, she left the pavilion and strolled along the street. She passed by a shop with the words Ling's Clothing Pavilion hanging on the signboard. It was late at night, and the shop was already open. When she walked in, she saw all kinds of clothes hanging there. The shop owner was a cold and beautiful woman. Yin Zhenu was curious about the shop owner. She walked in and started to pick out the clothes. "Miss Yin, are you here to make clothes?" The beautiful shop owner asked. "You know me?" Yin Zhenu asked. "Of course. Miss Yin is famous in the world. You are coveted by Yang Dingtian. You and young Master Lingxi are together like jade. You are envied by all the women in the world. Who doesn't know about you?" The shop owner said. Yin Zhenu was embarrassed. She lowered her head and said, "Sister, you must be joking. Are these clothes made by you?" "Yes, I made each of them personally," the shop owner said. "And I only make women's clothes." "Ah, you don't make men's clothes?" Yin Zhenu said regretfully. "I do, but I only make clothes for one man," the shop owner said. "That man is really enviable. He must be the happiest man in the world." Yin Zhenu said, "But I want to make a set of clothes for one person. Is that okay?" "Young Master Lingxi?" the shop owner said. "Must it be him? My father is also a man." Yin Zhenu smiled shyly and said, "Sister, you are so clever. You are really amazing. All right, what's your name?" "Ling Wu." Ling Wu said. In a secret chamber, there were only two people, Lingxi and Zhu Qingzhu. "Tomorrow, the investigation team will announce the results. Have you found the truth?" Zhu Qingzhu asked. "Yes," Lingxi said. "Oh, what's the result?" Zhu Qingzhu asked. "Earth Fisher City and Cloud Sky Pavilion are innocent. All the accusations of evil ways are false. Yin Zhenu and He Wanqing are not involved in any evil ways." Lingxi said. "Then I am really disappointed with this result." Zhu Qingzhu said. "There's no other way. This is the truth." Lingxi said. "Can you change it?" Zhu Qingzhu said. "I can pay a high price. I believe Sect Master Zhu also knows that Yin Zhenu is my beloved woman. I can't allow her to be wronged. So not to mention whether she is an infiltrator of evil ways. Even if she is, I will protect her to the end. A man who can't protect his own woman, what kind of man is he?" Lingxi said resolutely. "I admire young Master Lingxi's deep friendship." Zhu Qingzhu said. "However, my price is really very high. No, there's no room for negotiation. I Lingxi am righteous. My love for Yin Zhenu is clear. If anyone dares to hurt her, I will not let them go. If you want me to betray my love and hurt the woman I love, it's impossible," Lingxi said slowly. "Unless you can convince me with the righteousness of the world. Love is noble. It can't be betrayed. However, the righteousness of the world is the most important thing. Am I right?" Zhu Qingzhu smiled. "That's right. Young Master Lingxi's righteousness is beyond words. Then what should we do to serve the righteousness of the world? Kill Ning Wuming. Lingxi said. Ah, why? Zhu Qingzhu said. Didn't you guys work well together? We suddenly realized that there's no need for him to exist anymore. The situation has changed. It's better not to have such a useless person. Lingxi said. The situation had changed? How did it change? All right. Zhu Qingzhu said. What else? When it comes to young Master Wu Yuming, you have to agree. If you don't, we can't do what we want to do. If we really have no other choice, not only will we kill Yang Dingtian, but we will also kill you. Lingxi said. The day had finally arrived. Zhu Qingzhu fell silent. He took a deep breath and said, I will definitely stand on young Master Wu Yoming's side. All right. For the sake of the righteousness of the world, I can only sacrifice my love. Lingxi sighed. I'll leave Yin Kailan to you. You can do whatever you want with him. Yin Zhenu, don't ruin him. I still want him. Chapter 567. Although Zhu Qingzhu had agreed very easily, in fact, this was the most important and also the most painful time he had to choose a side. Moreover, the Sea of Hades and the Vulture sect had been forcing him to choose a side for a very long time. He had never agreed before. And the Vulture sect and the Sea of Hades didn't force him either. Now, Yang Dingtian had risen too quickly, and the threat was too big. Especially after the defeat of the 8 million troops from the Central Province, when they attacked the West Province. Yang Dingtian was like the sun in the sky. Therefore, the Sea of Hades and the Vulture sect couldn't sit still anymore. They couldn't play the neutral game anymore. Therefore, Zhu Qingzhu had no choice but to make a choice immediately. The reason why Zhu Qingzhu had agreed so readily was because he had no other choice. Of course, when he agreed, he still sighed in his heart. He even started to envy Yang Dingtian. Then, I'll take my leave. Lingxi said. Zhu Qingzhu said coldly, and didn't send him off. At this time, there was no need for formalities. After Lingxi left, Zhu Qingzhu suddenly pulled out his sword and slashed the place where Lingxi had been. Then he slashed the place where Lingxi had been like a madman. Tonight was the most humiliating night for him. He, Zhu Qingzhu, had been in the limelight for dozens of years. He had stood at the top of the pyramid in the chaotic world for dozens of years. Today he had finally suffered such a great humiliation. Then he patted his waist and sighed. As expected, after my waist goes soft, I can't straighten it anymore. If I didn't kneel 20 years ago, I believe my waist would be as hard as Yang Dingtian now. Miss Yin, I heard that Yang Dingtian was greedy for your beauty and wanted to force you to be his concubine. Is that true? Ling Wu asked as she measured Yin Zhenu's body. That's true, Yin Zhenu said. However, she didn't mention the remaining private matters. For example, Yang Dingtian felt that she was like one of his wives. This is truly unbelievable, Ling Wu said. In the past, he was still considered a proud person. After gaining power, they started to become arrogant, greedy, and stupid. Yin Zhenu said, people from lowly backgrounds are all like this. They are used to suffering, and when they finally gained power, they became crazy and ignorant. Only those who had been at the peak for a long time would be able to remain calm at all times. Not only can they enjoy the view from the top of the mountain, they can also take a leisurely stroll in the mountainous area and admire the fragrance of the wildflowers by the roadside. Ling Wu was startled. She immediately thought of Wu Yuming, who had such a noble status, frequently accompanied her out on the ship to protect her. Like a red-crowned crane, it didn't feel uncomfortable at all standing among the chickens and ducks. Even though Yang Dingtian was sitting on the throne, he still felt like he was in a thatched hut. Miss Yin, are you talking about the difference between Lingxi and Yang Dingtian? Ling Wu smiled. You can say that, Yin Zhenu said. However, I'm talking about young Master Lingxi and not Yang Dingtian. I'm not even willing to hear the words him, let alone mentioning it. I even feel lowly when it comes out from your mouth. I also won't compare the two of them, because that would tarnish young Master Lingxi too much. Immediately, Ling Wu's expression trembled slightly, and her gaze became complicated. Was it because someone insulted Yang Dingtian and made her heart ache? It seemed so, but it didn't seem so. It seemed like she felt a stab of pain and humiliation. Even though Yin Zhenyu said that she was insulting Yang Dingtian, Ling Wu herself felt a stab of pain and humiliation. Because she had once loved such a person. If there was no comparison, it would still be fine. However, when she had a comparison, she immediately felt that the past seemed to be a humiliation to her vision and wisdom. Especially when these words came out from the mouth of Yin Zhenyu, a calm, noble and elegant woman. She didn't know why. Previously, when Ling Wu was in love with Yang Dingtian, she felt that a carefree and straightforward woman was the most beautiful. Therefore, she didn't pay much attention to her appearance. She went out to sea every day, and the clothes she wore weren't very particular, because she felt that it was the most genuine and the most beautiful. However, after getting along with Wu Yuming for a few months, she changed this point of view. She felt that lofty, proud, calm, and elegant were the most beautiful and the most intoxicating. Therefore, she became fairer, and the clothes she wore became more particular. Her temperament also became elegant, calm, and indifferent. Therefore, when Yin Zhenyu appeared in front of her, she felt envious of her temperament. She felt that Yin Zhenyu's taste and cultivation were above hers. Then she instinctively felt that what she said was right. Ling Wu. Yin Zhenyu said, I seem to remember now. You seem to be Yang Dingtian's. No. As if she was stabbed, Ling Wu suddenly jumped up and said, I'm not. Yang Dingtian and I are completely innocent. There's nothing between us. Then, feeling that she had lost her composure, Ling Wu said with reddened eyes, Miss Yun, I used to love Yang Dingtian. At that time, he saved my life and also saved my father's life. At that time, he was righteous and sunny. Although his temperament was rough, and his charm was ordinary. However, he was honest and straightforward. I also didn't know that after he became the Cloud Heaven City Lord, he became like this. Therefore, in the beginning, I took the initiative to pursue him. Later on, I took the initiative to leave him. He gave me a magnificent castle and a huge territory. However, I didn't ask for anything. I left the West region and came to the Central region. Yin Zhenyu's beautiful eyes immediately brightened. She went forward and hugged Ling Wu lightly. Sister Ling Wu, you're really brave. You actually took the initiative to leave that person who was distorted by power and live in the Central region without worry. I will tell young Master Lingxi about your brave deeds. We will protect you. Yang Dingtian won't dare to do anything to you. Ling Wu sobbed. I'd rather live a simple and tiring life than to enjoy the splendor and wealth in Yang Dingtian's castle. Because that way, at least I would be proud and clear-headed, unlike Qin Jiaojiao, who was humiliated and muddle-headed. I really want to thank your mother for allowing me to see Yang Dingtian clearly. Actually, I was also muddle-headed before. I even helped him build submarines and torpedoes. I even felt that I had contributed. It was only after I came to the Central region and left that crazy atmosphere in the West region that my mind gradually became clear-headed. I finally recognized Yang Dingtian's distorted face because of power. Speaking of which, the Central region's vilification of Yang Dingtian was always escalating. There were many versions of Yang Dingtian occupying Madame Shimen Yang Peipei. Moreover, every version was more realistic than the real one. Also, every expansion of Yang Dingtian's was described in detail. Among them, Yang Dingtian's desire for power and cunning was completely sensational. However, this kind of brainwashing was always directed at the public. As long as they had enough information, they would absolutely turn their noses up at it. Therefore, the people who released the brainwashing information were the most disdainful of the things they fabricated. For example, although Yin Kalin hated Yang Dingtian to the bone, she didn't believe in those 99 major crimes that she listed for Yang Dingtian. However, even if she didn't believe it, there would be people who would. Telling a lie 10,000 times would also become the truth. Therefore, Yang Dingtian's reputation in the Central region was at two extremes. There was a portion of people who were incomparably fanatical and worshipful of Yang Dingtian. This portion of people were mainly from the Central region's army and middle and low-level martial artists. There was a portion of people who were incomparably disdainful of Yang Dingtian. This portion of people were mainly from the bottom. It couldn't be helped. In the past few months, Zhu Qingzhu and Yun Kailan had repeatedly gone to the front. However, even if Yang Dingtian knew about it, he wouldn't care at all. This was because this kind of thing could be easily discredited and cleared up. Slave Yin Jun spoke in a cold voice. There will be a day when we will fight our way back to the West region and end Yang Dingtian's rule. We will rescue all the citizens of the West region and the innocent women who are suffering under Yang Dingtian. Believe me, Prince Lingxi and his vulture sect are already on the move. The next day, everyone's attention was focused on Zhongjing. The Zhongjing Tiando League's main hall was filled to the brim. Previously, Yang Dingtian's Zhongjing Tiando League's meeting was held in a small hall on the top floor. This time, it was held in the main hall on the first floor. All the forces in the Tiando League, and their affiliated forces, as well as the representatives of the various feudal lords, were present. More than 10,000 people were seated in the main hall. The Vulture Sect's investigation team announced the results of their investigation. This was originally not a big deal. It only involved Fisher City and the Cloud Sky Pavilion. However, under the manipulation of someone with ulterior motives, it seemed to have become a huge matter. However, Yang Dingtian from the western region did not even send Qin Wanqiu. Instead, he sent Li Guanong. Didn't you kick Wooden Sword Castle out of the Tiando League? I will ask him to participate in the Tiando League now. Although Zhu Qingzhu was unhappy, he could only accept it. It just so happened that the West Province's Heaven Dao Union held an extremely important position in this conference. Zhu Qingzhu even wanted to pull Li Guanong to the core seat at the center, even though Li Guanong was Yang Dingtian's representative. Therefore, Zhu Qingzhu held Li Guanong's hand and asked him how he was doing. When he talked about the Tiando League's righteousness and friendship, no matter how thick-skinned he was sick of it. In the end, everyone took their seats. They were waiting for the host Lingxi to arrive. Superstars were always the last to arrive. After everyone was in position for a quarter of an hour, Lingxi arrived gracefully. Of course, he came together with Yin Zhenu. Under everyone's gaze, the two of them were like a golden couple. It was as if they were made for each other. While everyone was amazed, they could not help but complain. What are you doing, Lingxi? Can't you keep a low profile? We know you are here to stand up for your woman, but you don't have to be so arrogant. Aren't you afraid that people will accuse you of cheating? Yin Zhenu also suggested that they should keep a low profile and not walk together. However, Lingxi rejected her suggestion. He said that he was always above board and would not care about the rumors. Therefore, when Yin Zhenu entered the hall and saw the crowd, her heart skipped a beat. She felt warm all over. She was a refined person and should not care about such a scene. However, in order to seek justice for her, Sir Lingxi had actually created such a huge scene. Even though she was someone who had no desires, she still felt a wave of admiration and pride. Is he doing this for me? So that I won't be wronged? He went to such great lengths to seek justice for me. Yin Zhenu felt that she had no desires and would not fall in love with any man. However, at this moment, she could not help but feel moved. After Yin Zhenu sat down, Lingxi came to the center of the hall and started to report the investigation team's final conclusion to the Tiando League. Before I report the final conclusion of the investigation, I want to ask both of you, do you agree with the fairness of my investigation? Regardless of the final result, do you accept it? Yang Dingtian asked. Yes, Zhu Qingzhu said. Yes. Although Yin Zhenu's voice was cold, there was a hint of gentleness in it. Although she knew that she should not do that, she could not help but look at Lingxi. All right then. Before I announce the final conclusion, I have a few words to say. Lingxi said. As everyone knows, a few months ago, when I met Miss Yin Zhenu, I fell in love at first sight. After that, I fell madly in love with her. In the past few months, I proposed to her a few times. However, Miss Yin Zhenu had no desires. She did not agree to my proposal. However, I did not care. Instead, I respected her even more. Therefore, there were rumors that I would definitely side with the Cloud Sky Pavilion and Earthshatter City in this investigation. Therefore, I can only say that I have a clear conscience. No matter what the consequences of this investigation are, I, Lingxi, will bear all the consequences. Suddenly, everyone in the hall became serious. Yun Zhenhu's heart skipped a beat. He had suffered such criticism and grievances because of her. However, he still protected her bravely. Now, I announce the results of the investigation. Lingxi said seriously. I announce that the wife of the mayor of Earth-splitting city, He Wanqing, is guilty of evil ways. Yun Kailan's descendant Yun Zhenhu is guilty of evil ways. Earth-splitting city and Cloud Sky Pavilion are guilty of launching a plague attack on Zhong province. Lingxi then handed over a few hundred pages of evidence. It was as if the evidence was irrefutable. In an instant, the entire hall fell into a deathly silence. As for Yun Zhenhu, it was as if a nuclear bomb had exploded in her head. Then her mind went blank. She could not feel any pain or sadness. Her mind was blank. Lingxi lowered her head. When she looked up again, her eyes were red. Zhenhu, I love you. This has never changed. However, justice is more important than the mountains. For the sake of the world, I have to tell you the truth. However, I have never regretted my love for you. I will never change it. Lingxi then pulled out her sword and handed it to Yun Zhenhu. For the sake of justice, I have betrayed our love. You can kill me with your sword. I will not resist. Then, Lingxi looked at Yun Zhenhu with tears in her eyes, trembling. Her gaze seemed to have awakened Yun Zhenhu. In an instant, boundless pain surged through him like a tidal wave. Then it was complete coldness and complete darkness. Yun Zhenhu felt that her body was falling in the dark cave. Below her was the 18 levels of hell. Lingxi's gentle face started to distort. In the end, she looked like a demon that was trying to devour her. Then, the faces of the tens of thousands of people on the field were all smiling sinisterly, mocking him. She was falling, but no one reached out to pull her up. All of Lingxi's previous affections, all of her gentleness, all of their public displays of affection, all of it had become a huge mockery, a footnote to Lingxi's selflessness. At this moment, thousands of pairs of eyes were staring at her. Although these eyes were filled with shock and sympathy, they did not show any mockery. However, Yun Zhenhu could see that every pair of eyes was shining with the same light, the same meaning, and the same word. Idiot. Almost at that moment, Yun Zhenhu suddenly understood. This matter was a monstrous trap from the very beginning. Zhu Qingzhu felt that the trap was not enough, and pushed Yun Kailan to the high platform. In the end, Vulture Sect could not help but make a move. However, they felt that the atmosphere was not good enough, and pushed Yun Kailan and Yun Zhenhu to the high platform. In the end, the high platform was enough. Vulture Sect and Zhu Qingzhu had reached an agreement. Lingxi came up and kicked Yun Kailan and Yun Zhenhu, who were on the high platform. Then, the mother and daughter fell into the abyss. Sigh. Li Guanong from Wooden Sword Fortress sighed. Why, Junior Brotherly, are you pitying them? Zhu Qingzhu asked. Stupid people deserve to be pitied. Crazy people deserve to be pitied. However, stupid and crazy people do not deserve to be pitied, Li Guanong said calmly. If an honest and sincere person like Junior Marshal Brotherly says so, it seems that this sentence is not wrong, Zhu Qingzhu said with a faint smile. Following that, the Central Continent's actions were extremely fast. They sent Earth Fisher City and Sky Cloud Pavilion to the 18th level of hell. Then, they formed an expeditionary force to destroy Sky Cloud Pavilion and Earth Fisher City. They ordered Kuei Si from Earth Fisher City and Yun Kailan from Sky Cloud Pavilion to give up all resistance and hand over Earth Fisher City and Sky Cloud Pavilion. They would hand over He Wanqing and Yun Zhenhu from Evil Ways, the Demon Vulture Army, and the Crystal Demon Warship. Otherwise, Sky Cloud Pavilion and Earth Fisher City would kill them all. Zheng Zhou did not capture Yun Zhenhu directly. Instead, they let her go back to Sky Cloud Pavilion. Throughout the whole process, Yun Zhenhu was in a daze. She did not realize anything. She rode on the Black Vulture Queen and returned to Sky Cloud Pavilion. The moment Yun Kailan saw her, he said excitedly, Noor, is the meeting over? Our two families have already gathered. Once you arrive, as long as young Master Lingxi seeks justice, we will immediately seek justice from Zhu Qingzhu. Even young Dingtian will not be spared. Hearing Yun Kailan's excited voice, Yun Zhenhu's beautiful eyes dimmed. Then, she felt as if a giant hammer had hit her chest. Blarg! She spat out a mouthful of blood on Yin Kalen's face. Mother, we are doomed. Lingxi lifted us up and kicked us into the abyss. He wants to step on our bodies 10,000 times. Then Yin Zhenu fainted. Soon, the Zhongzhou Tiando League's official letter and challenge letter arrived at Earth Fisher City and Sky Cloud Pavilion. Attached to the document was Lingxi's final investigation report, which was clearly written on it. He Wanqing from Earth Fisher City was found guilty of evil ways. Yin Zhenu from Sky Cloud Pavilion was found guilty of evil ways. Sky Cloud Pavilion, Earth Fisher City was found guilty of aiding the evildoer and causing a plague to attack Zhongzhou. After receiving the documents, Yin Kalen felt as if he was struck by lightning. Then he spat out a mouthful of blood. Lingxi, you bastard, I will tear you into pieces. Yin Kalen was furious and humiliated as he shouted. On the other hand, Kuei-si looked as if he had aged 10 years. He slumped on the chair. His wife, He Wanqing, took a look at the documents. Without saying a word, she slapped Kuei-si across his face. If it wasn't for you, my Earth Fisher City wouldn't be in this mess today. He Wanqing sobbed. My husband, if you didn't come back that day and died outside, maybe my Earth Fisher City wouldn't be in this mess. When Kuei-si heard this, his face turned pale. My husband, it's not that I'm heartless. My husband, He Wanqing said calmly, you are the only man in my life. You are the only man in my heart. If you die, I will go with you. There's nothing to be sad about. If I die in exchange for the survival of Earth Fisher City, I would rather you die. You don't want to be played and humiliated by others. After saying that, He Wanqing staggered back into the house. Suddenly, Earth Fisher City and Sky Cloud Pavilion fell into an apocalypse. After 2 days and 2 nights, Yin Kalen finally woke up. However, he was already very old. His jet-black hair had also turned snow-white. Her face was completely pale, and wrinkles were all over it. After being unconscious for 1 day and 1 night, she had aged another 20 years. Originally, she was in her 40s, but she looked like she was in her 30s. Now, she was still in her 40s, but she looked like she was in her 50s or 60s. Yin Zhenu woke up earlier. She knelt beside her mother like a beautiful doll. She was expressionless. Even her beautiful eyes were empty and unfocused. Without a doubt, Yin Zhenu was the one who suffered the greatest blow this time. She was raised to the top by a man with love and glory. Then she was kicked down and trampled on. It was the most tragic thing that a woman would not experience in 10 lifetimes. It was the most painful thing that a woman would not experience in 10 lifetimes. It was enough to destroy a woman 10 times, 100 times. From today onwards, Yin Zhenu would no longer have the face to live in this world. She would no longer have the face to meet anyone. If she stayed in this world, she would only be humiliated and a laughing stock. Moreover, this humiliation would never be washed away. I will go and beg Yang Dingtian, beg Yang Dingtian, Yin Kalen said weakly. No, I won't go. At most, I will die. Yin Zhenu said word by word. She was emotionless. Go and believe in me. The things that I used to scold Yang Dingtian were all lies. I did something wrong and betrayed Yang Dingtian. I went to help Zhu Qingzhu. Because of guilt, because of self-abasement, I behaved more and more crazily. I couldn't wait to dismember Yang Dingtian into thousands of pieces, as though doing so would allow me to have a clear conscience. Because in this world, when the person who made you feel guilty and ashamed is dead, you will feel better. Yin Kalen said, I am a foolish woman. Don't learn from me. Go and beg him. He is the most righteous and stupid person in this world. He is also the only person in this world who can save us. Go and beg him. No, I would rather die. Yin Zhenu said. Then you can die after you have saved the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Yin Kalen shouted fiercely. The reason why the Cloud Sky Pavilion is in such a state is because of my sins. However, it is also because of your sins. You can die after you have redeemed your sins. Suddenly, Yin Zhenu's body trembled. Chapter 568. In this huge conspiracy, Yang Dingtian's role was definitely not as honorable as Yin Kalen's. Although he did not participate in the entire conspiracy, He had watched it unfold and develop without doing anything. Moreover, Qin Wancho was the mastermind behind the entire conspiracy. The source of the conspiracy was Qin Wancho's strategic blackmail, forcing Yun Zhenu to marry him, and forcing Yun Kailan to hand over the crystal power source. Now the conspiracy had succeeded. However, Yang Dingtian was not very happy. Even Qin Wancho, the mastermind, was not very happy. Why? Because the final development of the matter had exceeded their original expectations. It had exceeded the scope of Qin Wancho and Yang Dingtian's control. In fact, Yang Dingtian and Qin Wancho had already felt slightly uneasy when Zhongzhou's sects were massacred a few times. This was because Zhu Qingzhu had been too ruthless in order to regain his power. He had directly massacred 4 sects and killed hundreds of thousands of people through the plague. Of course, Yang Dingtian was heartbroken by the deaths of hundreds of thousands of innocent people. However, this was not the main reason for his and Qin Wancho's uneasiness. Zhu Qingzhu had not made a move. Once he made a move, he was more decisive than Qin Wancho had imagined. He had already involved all the martial forces in Zhongzhou. Qin Wancho wanted to bait the Black Heaven sect, not all the martial forces in the Zhongzhou Taiyuan League. The Council of Light wanted to destroy the Black Heaven sect, not the entire Zhongzhou martial arts world. Therefore, this conspiracy had already expanded, and Qin Wancho could no longer control it. Originally, when Zhu Qingzhu first pointed the spearhead at the Cloud Sky Pavilion and Earth-Shattering City, everything was still under control. At that time, although the forces in Zhongzhou had already been involved, they could still control it. Unexpectedly, Zhu Qingzhu did not make a move at that time. Instead, he suppressed it for a while before involving the Vulture sect. In the end, the entire conspiracy had completely exploded. The Cloud Sky Pavilion and Earth-Shattering City had already fallen to hell. The most important thing now was that the entire Zhongzhou and Vulture sect had been involved. The West State Council of Light wanted to eliminate Zhu Qingzhu. If all the forces in Zhongzhou were involved and attacked the Cloud Sky Pavilion and Earth-Shattering City, Qin Wancho's plan to eliminate Zhu Qingzhu alone would basically be ruined. In the past few months, the reconstruction of Western Capital had almost been completed. The headquarters of the Council of Light could be moved to Western Capital at any time. In fact, many departments of the Council of Light had already moved to Xijing. Tang Buozhao and Song Lihua had led a large number of civil officials into Xijing. Moreover, the secret manufacturing base on Fire Island had been moved to the southern island of Xijing. From now on, Fire Island would only be the location of the Eastern Fleet. Right now, Yin City was only the center of the Southeast Defense Region and was guarded by Qiu Wanjia. Of course, there were still 500,000 elite soldiers scattered around Yin City. As the easternmost city in the West Continent, it was fully armed to the teeth. The coastal artillery and secret submarine forces covered the entire sea. Now the cleansing operation had come to an end. In the end, things didn't go as Yang Dingtian had expected. The number of people who died in this purge exceeded the limit set by Yang Dingtian, exceeding 100,000. Yang Dingtian had greatly underestimated the resistance of those vassals. When you touched their lifeblood, it was like hitting a rock with an egg. They would actually fight to the death. However, it went very smoothly, and the casualties to the citizens were minimal. Duan Ruyan and Li Guanong led the Southwest Army to cleanse the entire Southwest continent. The construction of the southernmost city in the Southwest continent was also very smooth. Currently, more than half of it was completed. Therefore, the land policy in the Southwest continent was actually the most thorough. In the end, Duan Ruyan and Li Guanong directly suggested that the land policy in the Southwest continent be exactly the same as Cloud Sky cities. They would directly give the land to the free people to cultivate, and then pay taxes. Even though Qiu Wanjia had some objections to this point, it was a foregone conclusion in the end. As a result, the entire Southwest continent underwent a huge change. Originally, everyone thought that the Southwest continent was a barbarian land, an ominous land with many mountains, forests, and fields. Moreover, it was definitely sparsely populated. At this moment, the entire Southwest continent was 6,000 miles long and 8,000 miles wide. and the registered citizens were only slightly more than 3 million. This population was far from the number of savages in the southern barbarian continent. However, who would have thought that after the Southwest Army cleaned up the miscellaneous factions and announced the land policy, countless people emerged from the depths of the mountains and forests, as well as from the wilderness. As a result, the registered population of the Southwest continent increased. Now it had exceeded 10 million and was still increasing. As a result, the Council of Light realized that the Southwest continent's future potential might surpass the North, and even the North and South defense districts of the Cloud Sky Mountain Range. Although there were primitive forests everywhere, the entire land was not damaged by the ancient destruction. As a result, the plan for the Southwest continent had to be changed again. The Sky Phoenix Pavilion and Wooden Sword Castle were unable to manage such a large land and population. As a result, they had no choice but to let the Council of Light rule over most of the land and citizens of the Southwest continent. Originally, there were only 2 cities in the Southwest continent. Now there were at least 4 medium to large-sized cities. Moreover, they had to at least establish a second-level organization of the Council of Light and send a large number of troops and officials to the Southwest continent. As a result, the Council of Light's headquarters did not raise the level of the Southwest continent. In the end, it became an existence that was not inferior to the West Defense District. As the highest commander of the Southwest Defense District, Duan Ruyan did not enter the Council of Light's highest command department. Now that the Southwest Defense District had been upgraded, she directly entered the command department and became the 5th commander of the West Continent's army. On the other hand, Cloud Sky City's army of hundreds of thousands led a crusade against the Land of Chaos. In fact, the Council of Light had a huge disagreement on whether to clean up the Land of Chaos and incorporate it into the West Continent. The Land of Chaos was the buffer zone between the Tiando League and the Evil Ways. It had been chaotic for hundreds of years. There were all kinds of people there, and who knew how many spies were hidden there? If the Land of Chaos was incorporated into the West Continent, there would be people causing trouble every day, and it would bring great trouble to the West Continent. Those who agreed felt that the West Continent needed a buffer zone and strategic depth. Otherwise, once they started fighting with the Evil Ways, they would directly enter the heart of Cloud Sky City, without any buffer zone. In the end, after a vote, all the members agreed to establish a buffer zone in the Land of Chaos. As for those who were as fierce as Song Xiao, they straightforwardly said that they should leave the land, but not the people. They should kill everyone in the Land of Chaos. After all, they were all scoundrels and deserved to die. However, Song Xiao's suggestion was directly rejected. Shimin Lai led an army of 300,000 and began to clean up the Land of Chaos. In the beginning it was very smooth. They swept through dozens of miles in a day. However, as time passed, their speed became slower and slower, and their casualties increased. This was because the entire Land of Chaos could not differentiate between the civilians and the militants. Under the instigation and encouragement of spies from many forces, the cities that had just been taken down were destroyed and revolted one after another. Hence, towards the end, they were only focused on suppressing the revolts and could not advance. Shimin Lai was too righteous. He was not strong enough to control this chaotic land of several thousand miles, where crooks mixed with honest folk. As for the other team, Qin Huayu and Song Xiao led an army of 500,000 elites to clean up the warlords and suppress the revolts. In the end, they discovered that although this matter was big, and there were many warlords who rebelled, they were basically scattered sand. They did not need so many troops. Hence, they simply handed over the task of suppressing the revolts to Qin Huayu and transferred Lu Hengxi's Devil Dragon army of 2,000, increasing Qin Huayu's Devil Dragon army to 4,000. Then, they had Song Xiao take 200,000 into the Land of Chaos. Together with Shimin Lai, they were responsible for the war in the Land of Chaos. As soon as Song Xiao entered the Fringe, the doomsday of the local tyrants and monsters in the Fringe had arrived. Even though the Council of Light had repeatedly stated that Song Xiao should not be too ruthless with his blade, Song Xiao was only able to endure for a few days. In the end, after Song Xiao went, he only managed to restrain himself for a few days. After being infuriated by the local tyrant, he suddenly raised his butcher's knife and killed until rivers of blood flowed. Previously, Shimen Lai's strategy in the Land of Chaos was to occupy the towns and restore order. However, Song Xiao was the complete opposite. He did not care about the land, and only cared about killing. Any armed force in the Land of Chaos with more than 100 people had to immediately disarm and surrender unconditionally. If anyone dared to say no, they would be slaughtered. As a result, the local tyrants of the Land of Chaos suffered a calamity. In the first 1,000 li, Shimen Lai led 300,000 troops to pacify and suppress. In the second 1,000 li, Song Xiao led a few 100,000 troops to kill. All the armed forces in the Chaos world with more than 100 people were uprooted. Either they surrendered or they were killed. As for the spies of the various forces in the Land of Chaos, they were all wiped out. How did Song Xiao judge a spy? He did not judge. As long as you were trained in proper martial arts, and were not from the Western continent, then I'm sorry you are a spy. You want to say you are not a spy? You are trained in the martial arts of a famous sect. Why would you come to a rotten place like the Land of Chaos? If you are not a spy, are you here to uphold justice? Moreover, Song Xiao's interrogation was very simple and crude. The first question was, are you a spy? If you say no, then you are lying and you will be killed. If you say yes, then the second question was, which family are you a spy from? Not speaking, you will be killed. After saying which family you are a spy, if you have a good relationship with the Western continent, you will be sent back. If you do not have a good relationship with the Western continent, you will be killed. Therefore, the interrogation of a spy was not more than 3 questions. Therefore, after Song Xiao took control of the Land of Chaos, his progress was very fast. Within a few months, he had cleaned up the Land of Chaos. Drive away, move, and kill all the wandering martial artists and all the armed forces on top of the mountain. The remaining people were organized to build cities, farm, and restore order. Therefore, when Tang Buozhao led some of the civil officials to take control of the Land of Chaos, he sighed. Is this still the Land of Chaos? Why do I feel that the order here is better than the Western continent? How could the order not be good? Even the novice martial artists here had been cleaned up. Moreover, every citizen supervised each other and jointly protected each other. Under Song Xiao's butcher's knife, the Land of Chaos changed from a land of slaughter to a place where even kitchen knives were not taken out. Any fight would be seen as a riot. The millions of people in the Land of Chaos were more obedient than cats. As for Song Xiao, it was as if he had a second spring in his career. Now, the role of World Society's Northern Defense Region commander was like chewing wax to him. Therefore, he decided not to take charge of the Northern Defense Region and hand it over to someone else. He wanted to enter the Council of Light Army, expand his territory, and sweep away all the forces of chaos. In the end, he swept through the Land of Chaos. He killed his way from the northeast to the south of the Netherworld Swamp. Beyond the swamp was the territory of the Temple of Blood. In the north, he killed his way to Sky Demon City, which was less than 300 miles away. In the entire Bedlam lands, thousands of Li were massacred by him, not leaving a single soul behind. He was not satisfied, and led his army north several times to invade Sky Demon City. He scared the people of Sky Demon City 3 times a day, and caused the most prosperous city in the world to flee. It was incomparably desolate. Shimen Lai was afraid that something would happen, and hurriedly reported it to Yang Dingtian. The emissaries of Sky Demon City's merchant palace also came in waves to seek an audience with Yang Dingtian. In the end, Yang Dingtian had no choice but to transfer Song Xiao back from the front lines of the Land of Chaos. After comforting him for his hard work, he followed his wishes and let him continue to be the Northern Defense Region's supreme commander. However, his main responsibility was to train the Council of Light's First Army, which was a full 200,000 troops. Therefore, Song Xiao was full of fighting spirit and went to take up the post. Ever since he had no hope of breaking through to the Grandmaster level, he could not find a goal to strive for. Now that he had found it, he had endless energy. Therefore, he trained the first army until it was wailing like ghosts and howling like wolves. Now, his reputation was like a child's crying. Therefore, even though the middle region was in chaos these few months, it was incomparably precious to the west region. Almost all of the large-scale strategic goals had been completed. The division of the defense region, cleaning up the feudal vassals' land policy, cleaning up the land of chaos, cleaning up the southwest continent, military reorganization, power structure. All of these were more or less set in stone. Without a doubt, these were the dividends from the victory in the Great War of the Middle Region. It was the easiest to do things with the momentum of a great victory. Moreover, the internal strife in the Middle Region had caused Yang Dingtian's reorganization in the West Region. Although the whole world had secretly sabotaged it, they could only sit and watch. They could not stop it. In the temporary headquarters of the Council of Light, 10 hours after Lingxi announced the results of the investigation in the Middle Region, before Li Guanong returned, Yang Dingtian had already received the exact news. Lingxi had sold out the Cloud Sky Pavilion, sold out Yunzhenu, and trampled on them 10,000 times. Then, the Council of Light immediately held a meeting. The strategic blackmail plan has gone out of control. Zhu Qingzhu has played too big, involving the entire Middle Region and the Vulture sect. The world is facing a drastic change. What should we do next? Yang Dingtian asked. Especially when facing the Cloud Sky Pavilion and the Earth-splitting city. What should we do? The plan has gone out of control. This is my responsibility, Qin Wancho said. Here, I will make a self-criticism to the sect master and everyone. Overall, this plan is still a success, Yang Dingtian said. But conspiracies are like this. They develop on their own. It's hard to completely control them. If nothing unexpected happens, the Earth-splitting city and the Cloud Sky Pavilion will come to ask for help soon. Should we save them? Yes, should they still save them? Yin Kalen was too good at courting death. Now the mark of evil ways was firmly imprinted on the Cloud Sky Pavilion and the Earth-splitting city. If they saved them, it would be equivalent to colluding with the evil ways. This was very disadvantageous to the Council of Light. If they did not save them, they could only watch the Earth-splitting city and the Cloud Sky Pavilion fall into Zhu Qingzhu's hands. This would be a great loss to the plane. This meant that Qin Wancho's strategic blackmail plan had not only failed to catch the big fish, Zhu Qingzhu, but also eaten the bait. Save, we must save them. No, to be precise, occupy them. Yang Dingtian said. Yin Kalen deserves to die. But the crystal power must not fall into Zhu Qingzhu's hands. Otherwise, there will be an endless number of crystal power demon ships attacking the West continent. We will not be able to defend against them. Of course, if the Earth-splitting city's Demon Eagle army falls into Zhu Qingzhu's hands, the West continent's skies will not be peaceful. Once the Earth-splitting city and the Cloud Sky Pavilion fall into Zhu Qingzhu's hands, he will immediately turn hostile. He will immediately fall out with us. And this temporary peace will disappear in an instant. Then, we will face the endless sea and air attacks. Qin Wancho said. Therefore, we must obtain the earth-shattering city and the Sky Cloud Pavilion. Everyone very keenly heard Qin Wancho's words. It was to get them, not to save them. What is your plan, Uncle Master Qin? Please tell us, Yang Dingtian said. If Zhu Qingzhu can punish the earth-splitting city and the Tiando League, we can do the same, Qin Wancho said. Moreover, he is only from the Middle Continent Tiando League. We are from the Council of Light. Our level is higher. Before Zhu Qingzhu makes his move, we will use the fastest speed to take over the earth-splitting city and the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Execute He Wanqing and Yun Zhenu to give the world an explanation. As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. Although everyone faintly had this thought in their hearts, Qin Wancho directly said it out loud. They would send troops to the earth-splitting city and the Cloud Sky Pavilion in the name of punishment. Then, before Zhu Qingzhu made his move, they would take over the Cloud Sky Pavilion and the earth-splitting city. This was the most perfect method. It was in line with morality and would yield results. However, Zhu Qingzhu would go crazy, because the fruits of victory would be taken by Yang Dingtian. Of course, how to deal with He Wanqing and Yun Zhenyu still needed to be discussed. As Qin Wanqiu said, it was too cruel to kill them and give the world an explanation. However, we will need the cooperation of the Earth-splitting city and the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Otherwise, it will be impossible to take over the Earth-splitting city and the Cloud Sky Pavilion in just a few days, Song Chunhua said. Don't worry. The messengers from the Earth-splitting city and the Cloud Sky Pavilion will be here soon, Qin Wanqiu said. We can't wait, Yang Dingtian said. All the experts above Martial Venerable Realm gather. The Devil Dragon Army, crystal cannons, and submarines gather. As soon as the messengers from the Earth-splitting city and the Cloud Sky Pavilion arrive, we will immediately send out our troops. The submarines and the ancient beasts will immediately head to the Southern Ocean continent and seal off the entire region. Yes, everyone said in shock. Plucking the fruits of Zhu Qingzhu's victory was simply too satisfying. That's right, will the vulture sect be angry? Qin Huayu suddenly asked. Will they take this opportunity to make a move? Everyone fell into silence. If Yang Dingtian snatched the fruits of victory from Zhu Qingzhu's hands, Zhu Qingzhu would definitely flip out. However, would the vulture sect take this opportunity to send out their troops? This was hard to say. Yang Dingtian suddenly said. If the vulture sect decides to jump out, they will definitely jump out. If he and the Netherworld Sea haven't jumped out, that means he has his own reasons. If we want to completely control the Earth-splitting city and the Cloud Sky Pavilion, without taking any risks, it's impossible. That's right. As long as we have a 50% chance of success, we can do it. How can there be no risk at all? Song Xiao said loudly. Let's do it. The current Song Xiao was a militant from head to toe. His desire for power was no longer very strong, but his desire for battle was boundless. Afterwards, the entire Western continent began to move, and all the elite forces began to gather. All the experts above Martial Venerable Realm gathered in Yin City. They were only waiting for the messengers from the Earth-splitting city and the Cloud Sky Pavilion to arrive before setting off. As for the ancient beast Xiao Xiao, it had already entered the Southern Ocean continent and started to destroy all the ships in the direction of the Southern Ocean continent, regardless of friend or foe. Moreover, it couldn't differentiate between friend or foe. Once it started to kill, it didn't care about anything else. One day later, the messenger from the Cloud Sky Pavilion, Yun Zhenyu, arrived and requested to see Yang Dingtian. After seeing Yang Dingtian, Yun Zhenyu immediately knelt down and prostrated herself on the ground, sobbing. Sect leader Yang, please save the Cloud Sky Pavilion and the Earth-splitting city. I am willing to be your slave and serve you for life. Chapter 569. Jiao Liao, come in. Help me check if Miss Yun Zhenyu is a pure and flawless lady. Yang Dingtian said. Even though Yun Zhenyu had already prepared herself mentally, the humiliation she felt at this moment still trampled on her face and her heart like crazy. At this moment, she really wanted to draw her sword and perish together with Yang Dingtian. However, she endured it. Clenching her teeth, she swallowed the humiliation. Jiao Liao walked in and said expressionlessly, Miss Yin, follow me. When Yun Zhenyu raised her head, her beautiful face was already pale. She followed Yun Zhenyu to a small house. Then, the rustling sound of clothes being unbuttoned could be heard. 15 minutes later, Jiao Liao walked out and nodded at Yang Dingtian. Master, she is still pure. After coming out, Yun Zhenyu was still kneeling on the ground. You can leave, Yang Dingtian said to Jiao Liao. Yes. Jiao Liao walked out. Yun Zhenyu, follow me, Yang Dingtian said, and immediately walked towards the inner room. Yun Zhenyu's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that Yang Dingtian wanted her body right here? Instantly, she felt her entire body turn cold. She felt that she was no longer the future young master of a sect. She was just a prostitute. And she was the kind that sent herself to his doorstep. Yang Dingtian continued to walk upwards, and actually reached the roof of the castle. This was the highest point in the entire Flame City. Above his head was the sky. He could look down on the entire Flame City. Yun Zhenyu was stunned. Could it be that Yang Dingtian liked to do those things in broad daylight? Or did he have some other perverted fetish? Or maybe he just wanted to woo her and have a heart-to-heart talk with her. However, it was obvious that she was thinking too much. Yang Dingtian whistled, and a huge demon eagle king flew over. "Get on," Yang Dingtian said. Yang Dingtian rode on the demon vulture king. Yun Zhenu was stunned for a moment before she followed suit. Yun Zhenu was even more surprised and curious. What was Yang Dingtian trying to do? Was he taking her to some special place? The demon vulture king flew at full speed. In just 2 hours, it landed in a remote valley of the Cloud Sky City's castle. This was also where Yin Yin Jiao Jiao and the baby stayed. Qin Mengli would occasionally stay here. However, she had been in charge of business before. Now that the Council of Light had been established, she had become very busy. She had become Song Lihua's subordinate and was in charge of business affairs. The seductive vixen was nowhere to be seen. She was still pregnant. That's right. She had been pregnant for more than a year. But she hadn't given birth yet. Because she wasn't a human after all. And she was pregnant with a powerful race that was almost perfect. Her pregnancy was estimated to be twice that of a human. However, the baby in her belly was very healthy. Moreover, in her stomach, she could already communicate with her parents. This is a real exchange. When Yang Dingtian laid on her belly and called for her baby, she would even respond. When she was happy, she would pat her mother's belly. When she was unhappy, she would spit out bubbles. Sometimes she would make a lot of noise and her belly would even hurt. When the baby started to communicate, the seductive vixen and Yang Dingtian stopped doing those things. Therefore, the current Yao Rao was touring the great rivers and mountains of the West Continent almost every day to cultivate the temperament of the baby in her belly. Husband, Qin Jiaojiao was practicing her swordsmanship. When she saw Yang Dingtian, she immediately rushed over happily. Of course, she was just practicing her swordsmanship for fun. Her talent was average, and so was her brain. Therefore, she could only be considered an idiot in martial arts. Yin Yin was 10 times lazier than her. She practiced day and night, and her cultivation was much higher than hers. However, the two of them had stopped fighting. They felt that there was no point in fighting for first or second place. The two of them had already colluded to deal with the older beauty Qin Mengli. When she saw that there was a woman behind Yang Dingtian, who was even more beautiful than her, the hair on Qin Jiaojiao's neck suddenly stood up. She asked coldly, "Who is she?" Then she shouted inside, "Shiman Damien, come out quickly. Your man brought a wild woman back." Yin Yin carried the baby and ran out anxiously. She shouted, Where? Where? Do you know how to play mahjong? The 3 of us play fight the landlord every day. We are so tired of it." "No way, Shiman Damien, what do you mean? Do you think your man's house is not messy enough? We fought for a year and finally settled down. Do you want to fight every day again? Can you have some backbone?" Qin Jiaojia said. Yang Dingtian carried the heavy Bao Bao over. Bao Bao was almost 2 years old now. He had already entered the first rebellious stage, and was impatient to be carried in the adult's arms. Yang Dingtian just carried him in his arms and struggled to get down. "Baby, give daddy a kiss." Yang Dingtian didn't get tired of playing this game. Bao Bao frowned and reluctantly gave Yang Dingtian a kiss. Then, without waiting for Yang Dingtian to ask for a kiss, he moved his little face closer and let Yang Dingtian kiss him. Look at that look of disdain, as if to say, "You adults are really childish. I'll be sick of this game after a few months, but you guys are still playing it. Seeing that you're my father, I'll cooperate with you. Don't make me play such childish games in the future. I don't even like eating Mimi anymore." Yang Dingtian carried the baby and greedily took a deep breath, smelling the baby's scent. It was said that the baby was still wet behind the ears. Now the baby's milk smell was not as strong, and he could speak much more clearly. However, Yin Yin said that when he first learned to speak, he loved to talk. Now that he could speak, he didn't like to talk anymore. This sentence made Yang Dingtian want to laugh. When the baby was young, he was only 2 years old, and was already young enough. Yin Yin's answer to this was that when she looked at children, the baby was the center. When the baby was 8 months old, she would look at children above 8 months old and think, "Wow, this child is so big." When she looked at children below 8 months old, she would think that this child was so small, even smaller than the baby. Now that the baby was 2 years old, as long as the child was over 2 years old, she would think that it was big. Children below 2 years old would think that it was small. Boys looked like their mothers. The baby didn't look like Yang Dingtian, but looked like his mother, Dugafengwu. Therefore, when he grew up, he would be many times more handsome than Yang Dingtian. Therefore, Yang Dingtian would sometimes think childishly, "Damn, Wu Yuming, don't be too proud. My son will be more handsome than you when he grows up." Cloud Sky Pavilion Master's daughter Yin Junu. Yang Dingtian said. Yin Yin ran her fingers through her hair and nodded at Yin Junu. Even though her movements were casual, Yang Dingtian could clearly feel that her absolutely beautiful complexion was lit up. The radiance in her beautiful eyes had lit up. This feeling was like a peacock seeing a beautiful opponent. It spread its wings and wanted to defeat the opponent. Qin Jiaojiao was instantly filled with hostility as she looked at Yin Junu with caution. Great! Not only is she prettier than me, but her status is also not inferior to mine. How can this be? I was originally ranked second in the family. Now that this vixen is here, am I going to be ranked third? The so-called second was really being ranked. She had even signed a contract and stamped her thumbprint. Shimin Yin was the eldest, Qin Jiaojiao was the second, Qin Mengli was the third, and Yao Rao was the fourth. Of course, Yao Rao didn't want to play with these little girls, and didn't give her thumbprint. Qin Mengli smiled and gave her thumbprint. She even called Yin Yin big sister, and Qin Jiaojiao second sister like a psychopath. Both of them felt a chill down their spines when they heard that. They immediately told her not to call them that, and that it was fine as long as she knew it in her heart. Bao Bao, Auntie will carry you. Do you want it? Yang Dingtian pointed at Yin Junu and asked Bao Bao. Bao Bao turned his head and looked at Yin Junu for a long time. He then turned his head and said, "No." Yin Junu reached out her hand and awkwardly left it there. "I'm sorry, Miss Yin. Bao Bao has been spoiled by us," Yin Yin said gently. Then, she took Bao Bao and placed him in Yin Junu's arms. It was only at this moment that Yin Junu's expression seemed to come alive. She hugged Bao Bao carefully and didn't dare to breathe. She was afraid that she would hurt Bao Bao if she used too much strength. Her kindness was unquestionable. Normally, she wouldn't even dare to step on an ant. Seeing that Yin Junu wanted to get closer, but didn't dare to, Bao Bao giggled and quickly kissed her red lips. Instantly, Yin Junu's beautiful face turned red. She looked at Bao Bao with even more affection. Yang Dingtian gently pinched Yin Yin and Jiao Jiao's cheeks and said, "All right, I have to go." Yin Yin said softly, "Husband, you don't want to eat anymore?" "I'm sorry. I don't have time," Yang Dingtian said. Yin Yin's eyes turned red. After marrying Yang Dingtian, the time that they spent together didn't exceed half a month. And in this period, the 4 to 5 days that they spent traveling north from the Netherworld Sea took up almost half of the time. He gently kissed Yin Yin and Jiao Jiao's forehead. Then he said to Yin Junu, "Let's go." Yin Yin carried Bao Bao over and said gently, "Bao Bao, Daddy has to go. Say goodbye to Daddy." "Goodbye." Bao Bao waved his hand perfunctorily. Although he also loved his father, he was very happy here. It was fine to see his father occasionally, but he didn't want to be together often, because he would always come and snatch his mother away. After staying in the valley for a while, Yang Dingtian and Yin Junu rode on the Demon Vulture King and returned to Yin City. From Yin City to Cloud Heaven City, it was a total of 4,000 miles. The round trip was close to 10,000 miles. Yang Dingtian brought Yin Junu to see Bao Bao and Yin Yan, and stayed for 15 minutes before leaving. Therefore, although Yin Junu's heart softened, she was still confused. Perhaps, it was because she, Yin Junu, had said that she wanted to free Shimin Yin Yin and Qin Jiaojiao from Yang Dingtian's evil clutches. I was wrong. In the air, Yin Junu suddenly said, "I said that Shimin Yin Yin and Qin Jiaojiao were very pitiful, and that I wanted to work hard to free them. I was wrong. They are very happy. I can feel that they love you very much, and you love them very much too." "You said something like that," Yang Dingtian said. "But you thought too much. I brought you to Cloud Heaven City, not to let you see Yin Yin and Jiao Jiao. but to let you see Bao Bao. Bao Bao is very cute and lovable. Yin Zhenyu said. I just want to confirm if you are the wife I was talking about. You are Bao Bao's biological mother. Yang Dingtian said. It seems like you are not. Your personalities and auras are completely different. Also, you are a virgin, and she has already given birth to a child. However, the auras of the two of you when you walk are very similar. It's a very subtle feeling. You love her very much? Yin Zhenyu asked. I don't really have the qualifications to talk about love. Yang Dingtian said. What happened between us was more of a freak combination of factors. I married her, but from the beginning to the end, we barely spent a day together, and we were never gentle with each other. She killed me once, and I killed her once. Furthermore, it was after she gave birth to Bao Bao. I pierced her chest with my sword and almost harmed Bao Bao. At this point, Yang Dingtian didn't continue. Every time he recalled this scene, Yang Dingtian's back would break out in cold sweat. He felt as though his soul was about to scatter. Fortunately, Duge Xiao went to find Fengwu and the baby. Otherwise, the consequences. Therefore, Yang Dingtian felt endless guilt towards Duge Fengwu. Yin Zhenyu was startled. She didn't expect that the woman that Yang Dingtian was talking about had such a past with her. Even though I am not her, I can replace her and be your servant, Yin Zhenyu said indifferently. It was unknown why, but after the trip to Cloud Heaven City, she suddenly thought things through. That feeling of humiliation was no longer that strong, and she became indifferent again. No, there is no need, Yang Dingtian said. Let's go back and talk about serious matters. Back in the castle of Flame City, Yang Dingtian regained his serious and cold expression. Yin Zhenyu was still kneeling and begging. Sit. You are not here to beg. You are here to negotiate. Yang Dingtian said. Yin Zhenyu was slightly startled. She then nodded and sat on the chair. I can save the Cloud Sky Pavilion, and I will definitely save it. Yang Dingtian said. However, I have a few conditions. Please speak, Yin Zhenyu said. At least for now, I will not clear your name. You might still have to bear the crime of being an infiltrator of evil ways. I will also imprison you. Yang Dingtian said. It is not that I don't want to do that. I just don't want to create unnecessary trouble. I know. I deserve it. This is my punishment for my stupidity, Yin Zhenyu said indifferently. Secondly, your mother, Yin Kalin, has to step down. Choose another capable person from the Cloud Sky Pavilion to be the new pavilion lord. If nothing goes wrong, we will choose Yin Qi because she is intelligent enough, Yang Dingtian said. Yes, Yin Zhenyu said. Mother has already made preparations for this. She was already prepared to step down. Thirdly, the Cloud Sky Pavilion can be integrated into the Council of Light and be reorganized, Yang Dingtian said. Of course, you will think that I am annexing it. However, if you have time in the future, you can take a look around the Western continent. The Cloud Sky Pavilion and the Earth-Shattering City will become the Yingzhou Defense Region. The internal affairs will still be managed by the Earth-Shattering City and the Cloud Sky Pavilion. However, the Crystal Demon Warships and the Demon Vulture Army will be integrated into the frontline army of the Council of Light. The military power will belong to the Council of Light. As for whether anyone from the Earth-Shattering City and the Cloud Sky Pavilion can enter the Council of Light, I am not sure. However, the owners of the Cloud Sky Pavilion and the Earth-Shattering City will become permanent members of the Council of Light. Yes, Yin Zhenyu said. Throughout the entire process, Yin Zhenyu did not bargain at all. Seeing Yang Dingtian's slightly astonished expression, Yin Zhenyu said, My mother only had a nightmare. My greatest objective is to protect the integrity and existence of the Cloud Sky Pavilion. We don't care about anything else. If Zhu Qing comes, the entire Cloud Sky Pavilion will be wiped out. There will not be a single piece of land left. All right, this matter is settled, Yang Dingtian said. Our army and martial artists have all gathered. With an order, we can rush to the Yingzhou continent at the fastest speed possible. Sect Leader Yang, I have a question, Yin Zhenyu said. Speak, Yang Dingtian said. If the Vulture sect gets involved and forces you to take a step back, what will you do? Yin Zhenyu asked. Since we have agreed to help, there is no possibility of taking a step back. Yang Dingtian said. Even if the vulture sect comes out in full force, even if we die, we will not take a step back. You should know that I have never taken a step back. Yin Zhenyu said. Then I have another question. It might anger you. Speak. Yang Dingtian said. What role did you play in the disaster of the Cloud Sky Pavilion and the earth-shattering city? You forced me to marry you at the Cloud Sky Pavilion? What do you mean? Yin Zhenyu asked. I played a shady role, Yang Dingtian said. I think you forced me to marry you and forced your mother to hand over the crystal demon warships as a form of punishment. The other was to infuriate your mother and give Zhu Qingzhu an opportunity. You wanted to use the Cloud Sky Pavilion to lure Zhu Qingzhu out and destroy him. Yin Zhenyu was startled. She didn't expect Yang Dingtian to be so direct, and didn't even bother to conceal anything. Of course, we did not expect Zhu Qingzhu to play so big. Therefore, the West Continent is in great danger. However, we can't turn back. Yang Dingtian said. I understand. Yin Zhenyu's face suddenly revealed a trace of sadness. However, she didn't feel any anger in her heart. Perhaps, after experiencing the greatest betrayal, trampling, and humiliation, Yang Dingtian's scheme was no longer considered anything. At least, Yang Dingtian was willing to tell you the truth. He was not like some men who put arsenic in honey and thought it was sweet before they poisoned you. Yang Dingtian did not apologize. He said, Then you should go and rest. When the emissary from the earth-shattering city arrives, we will set off immediately. Yes, Yin Zhenyu said. More than 2 hours later, the emissaries from the earth-shattering city, Kuei Ning and Kuei Qing, arrived at the same time. When Kuei Ning saw Yang Dingtian, she knelt down and did not say a word. Kuei Qing did not kneel down. She stood in front of Yang Dingtian and said, Sect leader Yang, we will agree to any of your conditions. However, please agree to one of my conditions. Please say it. Yang Dingtian said. Don't kill my sister-in-law. I have already tied her up. She has already tried to kill herself 3 times. Kuei Qing said. She was muddle-headed before, but she has never done anything evil. She is innocent. She should not die. Yang Dingtian said. I will imprison her because I am unable to prove her innocence. Yes, Kuei Qing said. We will agree to any of your conditions. What is the city lord Kuei-Si's opinion? Yang Dingtian asked. Once you reach the earth-shattering city, he will step down immediately and pass the position of the city lord to me. Kuei Qing said. Has he thought it through? Yang Dingtian said. My brother is straightforward but not stupid, Kuei Qing said. If he still can't figure out why Wu Yuming released him, and why the vulture sect did so, he would be hopelessly stupid. Yes, if he still could not figure out why the vulture sect was released back to Kuei-Si, then he would be hopelessly stupid. The Cloud Sky Pavilion was helping Zhu Qingzhu to attack the West Province. Yang Dingtian wanted to punish the Cloud Sky Pavilion. If Kuei-Si was not in the earth-shattering city, then the city lord would definitely watch as the earth-shattering city was punished. He might even help to step on it. After all, the hatred between the two sides had lasted for hundreds of years. However, after Kuei-Si returned, how could he watch as his woman was bullied? After being deceived for a long time, he had a huge prejudice against Yang Dingtian. Hence, he immediately pulled the earth-shattering city away from Yang Dingtian. As long as he separated the earth-shattering city from Yang Dingtian, he could package the city and the Cloud Sky Pavilion together and sell them to Zhu Qingzhu. In exchange, Zhu Qingzhu would compromise. They had never done business that was at a loss. Kuei Ning, you and I are brothers in life and death. Hence, before we mobilize, there are some things I need to make clear. Yang Dingtian said. In this great conspiracy, I played a dishonorable role. I conspired with Zhu Qingzhu and I to drag the Cloud Sky Pavilion into the abyss. Yes, Kuei Ning said. However, you never thought of dragging the earth-shattering city into the abyss. It was an accident that we were dragged into this, because you did not expect my father to be released safely. You also did not expect us to break off relations with you. The current situation is the result of Yun Kalen and our stupidity. Alright, Then let's not waste any more time. We will immediately mobilize the troops to the earth-shattering city and the Cloud Sky Pavilion, Yang Dingtian said. Within an hour, all the elites of the West Province Council of Light were mobilized. I have to vote for you. Chapter 570. Zhu Hongxue walked up to Yang Dingtian and said, I've already broken through to the Grandmaster realm. He had already disappeared for several months, and for the past month, he had been in seclusion. The Grandmaster realm was a threshold. Generally speaking, it was very difficult to break through during normal cultivation. Most of them broke through during life-or-death battles, or when they devoured powerful energy. As for Zhu Hongxue, he chose to break through during normal cultivation. Although it was very difficult, he still broke through. Yang Dingtian had spent very little time cultivating recently, but he still easily broke through to the 5-star Grandmaster realm. That's right, he broke through easily. Not only that, he directly broke through to the level 9 Grandmaster realm. As for Qin Huayu and Song Chunhua, they were too busy and had almost no time to cultivate. Especially Qin Huayu, who was always cleaning up the vassals. Therefore, the two of them did not have much of a breakthrough in their cultivation. Among the four of them, Yang Dingtian's cultivation went from the bottom to the top. Are you sure you want to go? I want to arrange for you to stay behind, Yang Dingtian said. I want to go, Zhu Hongxue said lightly. During the top-secret meeting to discuss how to deal with Zhu Qingzhu, Zhu Hongxue wanted to leave several times, but Yang Dingtian asked him to participate. This time, they might have to fight Zhu Qingzhu directly. Yang Dingtian did not want Zhu Hongxue to go, but he insisted on going. Okay. Yang Dingtian nodded. Due to the intervention of the ancient giant beast, it was impossible for Zhongzhou to send a large number of troops to the earth-splitting city and the Sky Cloud Pavilion. Moreover, Zhu Qingzhu had defined this battle as a battle between the Tiando League and the Evil Ways, so it could be a battle between martial artists. Therefore, the West Continent needed to mobilize almost all the martial artists this time. Currently, the entire West Continent had grandmasters and above. There were a total of 6 World Association elders and vassals. The Northwest Qin City was the most terrifying, with a total of 15. Cloud Sky City had the least, with only 2. Moreover, Yarao's belly was too big, so she could not participate in this battle. Therefore, only Yang Dingtian was left. Only Duan Rian was left in the Sky Phoenix Pavilion. The rest of the experts had either betrayed or been killed. In the Divine Weapons Villa, there were a total of 4 experts above the Grandmaster realm. Therefore, on Yang Dingtian's side, there were 3 experts above the Great Grandmaster realm. Qin Wanqiu, Dongfang Minmi, Xiao Xiao. Including Zhu Hongxue, there were a total of 26 grandmasters. If Yun Kailan, Kuei Si, and Yang Dingtian's war puppet demon, Yi Wucheng, were included, there would be 4 of them. As for powerhouses at the martial honorable level and above, there were more than 300 of them in the entire Western continent. Of course, the West Continent only had about half of the Central Continent in terms of martial venerables and grandmasters. However, it should be enough to fight against the Xintian sect. For this trip to the Sky Cloud Pavilion and the earth-splitting city, almost all of the elite martial practitioners had turned out in full force. Only the great Grandmaster Dongfang Minmi, the nameless Grandmaster, and 100 martial venerables stayed behind to guard the West Continent. Of course, their main focus was only in Shijing and the Council of Light's secret manufacturing base. The reason why Dongfang Minmi did not go to the Cloud Sky Pavilion's earth-shattering city was because he was going there to reorganize and take over. More than 100,000 elites from the Middle Continent were heading toward the Yingzhou mainland. Yang Dingtian and Qin Wanqiu had led hundreds of martial practitioners to the earth-splitting city and the Cloud Sky Pavilion on various flying mounts at the fastest speed possible. After arriving at the earth-splitting city, Kuei Si did not say a word. Almost half of his hair had turned white. In this huge conspiracy, Kuei Si was the most passive one. He was completely dragged into this mess by Yun Kailan. Of course, the most painful thing for him was that he had been played. He had been played by the Vulture sect. Initially, He had a good impression of the vulture sect that had saved him. However, things had turned out this way. His wife had become one of the evil ways, and his daughter had also become one of the evil ways. If he still did not know that he had been played, then he was really hopeless. After seeing young Dingtian, he did not say a word. Just like a martial practitioner, he led 7 masters and joined young Dingtian's martial practitioner team. Young Dingtian saw the pale and lifeless Kueisi's wife Huanqing. She had tried to commit suicide a few times in an attempt to use her death to save the earth-splitting city. Hence, Kueisi had no choice but to lock all of her Xian meridians, making her unable to move. After seeing young Dingtian, Kueisi's eyes were filled with pleading and apology. That day, she had decided to withdraw the Demon Eagle army in exchange for Wu Yuming to save Kueisi. However, who knew that Kueisi's return was just a conspiracy that had almost dragged the earth-splitting city into hell? You don't have to apologize, and you don't have to beg for death. Young Dingtian grabbed Kueisi's hand and said, I can't clear your name now, but I can definitely do it in the future. Kueisi's expression immediately calmed down and tears fell. Reorganizing the earth-splitting city was as easy as blowing off dust. As the new earth-splitting city lord, Kuei-Qing directly handed over all of the city's defensive arrangements and handed over all of the Demon Eagle Army's command rights. Next, the Western Continent's army would enter the earth-splitting city and Cloud Sky Pavilion on a large scale to take over the defense of these 2 places. Then, a large number of real cannons would densely cover every part of the coastline of these 2 places. Almost silently, the entire earth-splitting city's over 3,000 Demon Eagle Army's soldiers immediately changed to small crystal crossbows. Yang Dingtian and the rest only stayed in the earth-splitting city for a few hours. Then, with the earth-splitting city's masters and 2,000 Demon Eagle Army soldiers, they flew directly from the border to the Cloud Sky Plateau. The old Cloud Sky Pavilion had already been destroyed by the avalanche caused by the bombing. The current Cloud Sky Pavilion was in the huge castle of Manning Mountain. This castle was built on a cliff a few thousand meters above the ground. It was even more dangerous and precipitous. Actually, in terms of defense, it was stronger than the Cloud Sky Pavilion on the Great Snow Mountain. However, it was not as high. Sinner Yin Kalen greets sect leader Yang Dingtian. The gray-haired Yin Kalen bowed deeply and stood side by side with Yin Qi to welcome Yang Dingtian. The past few months were like a deep nightmare. After waking up, of course, she knew that she was wrong. However, she was still unwilling to kneel down. After welcoming Yang Dingtian into the castle, Yin Kalen immediately bid farewell and did not participate in any affairs. Then, she continued to lock herself in the dark room. She only said one sentence, "Call me out when Zhu Qingzhu and the people from the vulture sect are here." When she said this sentence, she was completely filled with soaring resentment. Perhaps, she only had one thought at this moment, and that was to perish together with Zhu Qingzhu and Lingxi. In the Cloud Sky Pavilion's castle, all the affairs were proceeding smoothly. Yin Kalen was gone, and her cousin, Elder Yun Qi, took over as the new Cloud Sky Pavilion master. Although Yun Qi was very talented, she was not very interested in martial arts and power. In fact, more than 20 years ago, she was the candidate for Cloud Sky Pavilion master. Because Yin Kalen had an affair with her archenemy, Kuei-Si, and Yin Kalen's extreme and stubborn personality, the previous Cloud Sky Pavilion master did not intend to pass the position to Yin Kalen. However, Yun Qi rejected directly. After Yin Kalen became the Cloud Sky Pavilion master, Yun Qi did not care about worldly affairs. Instead, she was very interested in plants and animals. Therefore, although she was very talented and was almost 60 years old, her cultivation was still at the level of a 7-star grandmaster. She was much weaker than Yin Kalen. If the core of Fisher City was the Demon Vulture Army, then the core of the Cloud Sky Pavilion was the Crystal Magic Warships and the Crystal Power. After the Council of Light entered the castle, Yun Qi handed over nearly 200 Crystal Magic Warships and the command of the unsuccessful Sea Demon Army to the Council of Light High Command Department. Moreover, She personally handed over all the materials for the crystal power to Yang Dingtian. All the mysterious sorcerers who were researching the crystal power also gathered and prepared to return to the West Continent. Therefore, after Yang Dingtian's group of warriors entered the Cloud Sky Pavilion, there was not much to do. On the other hand, Song Lihua's team of civil servants was extremely busy. Song Chunhua of the High Command Department was also extremely busy. The Council of Light did not participate in the internal affairs of Fisher City and the Cloud Sky Pavilion. However, the reorganization of the army, the defense of the region, the allocation of personnel, and the stationing of the army all had to be replanned. Most importantly, some of the people from the Cloud Sky Pavilion and Fisher City were transferred to the West Continent. Some of them were transferred to other defense regions, while others were transferred to the headquarters in Xijing. Then, the high-level warriors and civil servants of the West Continent would enter the Yingzhou mainland as quickly as possible. This looked more like a power grab, but it was not. Every family did this, and the Northwest Qin city was no exception. Moreover, these high-level warriors and civil servants had to obey the supreme commander of the defense region unconditionally in internal affairs. Therefore, even though many of the castellans and castellans in the Northwest Qin city defense region had been replaced, however, Qin Wanchou still had the highest authority in this region. Of course, the Council of Light reorganized the Crystal Demon Fleet, the Demon Eagle Army, and the Demon Dragon Army, which were extremely professional troops, but the extent was very small. They still let the most professional people command these troops. However, the Crystal Demon Fleet would probably be reorganized into the navy led by Qiu Wanjia. Uncle Kuei, after the Yingzhou mainland has settled down, I hope that you can become the supreme commander of the Yingzhou defense region. At that time, you will be in charge of all the internal affairs of the Cloud Sky Pavilion and Fisher City, as well as military affairs and martial arts, Yang Dingtian said. I am not suitable, Kuei-si said. I am not talented enough. You should change to someone else. Cloud Pool Pavilion leader is too weak. I really don't have anyone who can take up this position, Yang Dingtian said. Then you can take up the position yourself, Kuei-si said. I am already the Cloud Sky City Lord and the Supreme Commander of the Northeast Defense Region. In fact, I can't even go to Cloud Sky City once a month, Yang Dingtian said. Uncle Kuei, this is not a high position. Everything we do is to prepare for the battle of destruction in a few years. If you take up this position, you might not even have time to cultivate. You might even be 10 years older in the frenzy of work. Then I will try, Kuei-si said. Thank you, Uncle Kuei, Yang Dingtian said. After handing over the most important authority in the shortest time possible, the Cloud Sky Pavilion and Fisher City sent out hundreds of envoys to the Middle Continent and East Continent to announce the first announcement to the world. The Council of Light sent out troops to punish Fisher City and the Cloud Sky Pavilion. After an intense battle, all the Evil Ways spies have been arrested. The Cloud Sky Pavilion leader Yun Kalin, who colluded with the Evil Ways Ning Wuming, has been removed from his position and officially imprisoned. Elder Yun Qi was appointed as the new Cloud Sky Pavilion leader. Although Fisher City Lord Kuei-si had nothing to do with the Evil Ways, he was not a good judge of character and was infiltrated by the Evil Ways. He officially resigned from the position of Fisher City Lord. The great commander of Fisher City, Kuei Qing, will take over the position of Fisher City Lord. The Evil Ways spies, Yin Junnu, are officially imprisoned. He Wanqing's identity as the Evil Ways spies are still suspicious. She is also officially imprisoned pending investigation. Immediately after, Fisher City and the Cloud Sky Pavilion announced the second announcement to the world. Fisher City, the Cloud Sky Pavilion officially joined the Council of Light and established the Yingzhou Defense Region. All the armies of Fisher City and the Cloud Sky Pavilion will be reorganized by the Council of Light. All the suspects of Fisher City and the Cloud Sky Pavilion will be arrested by the Council of Light and sentenced on a later date. Then, the Council of Light announced the third announcement. Fisher City Lord Kuei Qing and Cloud Sky Pavilion leader Yun Qi will become executive members of the Council of Light. Cloud Sky Pavilion leader Yun Qi will become the 5th member of the Council of Light. 10 hours later, the report reached the Middle Continent. Zhongzhou was instantly in an uproar. Zhu Qingzhu flew into a rage and smashed a huge stone statue in front of him into pieces. Despicable, shameless. Shameless Yang Dingtian. You and I are irreconcilable. In front of everyone, Zhu Qingzhu roared in anger. Then he spat out a mouthful of blood. He had planned for a few months and sacrificed hundreds of thousands of people. He had completely compromised with the Vulture sect and started a massacre of the evil ways. What was his purpose? Wasn't it to regain the power of Zhongzhou? Wasn't it to get Fisher City and the Cloud Sky Pavilion's territory? Now he had killed hundreds of thousands of people. He had slaughtered all the spies of the evil ways. He had been a gentleman and a villain. He had also been humiliated in front of that little bastard Lingxi, and had almost signed a contract to sell himself. He had gone through a lot of hardships, betrayed countless people, and traded many things. He was just waiting for the final harvest. In the end, Yang Dingtian reached out and plucked both fruits. How could he not be mad with anger? Aren't you Yang Dingtian a modest gentleman? Aren't you Yang Dingtian a hypocrite? Aren't you Yang Dingtian and Yun Kalen irreconcilable? Did they get together just like that? What about the Council of Light sending troops to the Cloud Sky Pavilion and Fisher City? What punishment? What fierce battle? What about arresting all the spies and spies of the evil ways? Who the fuck are you trying to fool? Do you think I don't know if He Wanqing and Yun Zhenu are spies of the evil ways? It's only the 4th day since the Vulture sect's investigation report came out. It's only the 2nd day since Zhongzhou decided to send troops. Not everyone has arrived yet. Yang Dingtian, you fucking finished the battle? You fucking taken over Fisher City and the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Can you fucking fly? Oh, you can fly, but you can't fly as fast as you. Of course, Zhu Qingzhu was mentally prepared for the situation in West Continent. But he didn't have a choice. He had to seize the opportunity to regain power in Zhongzhou. He had to seize the opportunity of the conflict between West Continent and the Cloud Sky Pavilion. But the more he played, the more he played. Although it was extremely risky for Yang Dingtian to intervene, it also made the Cloud Sky Pavilion and Fisher City even more desperate. So, they threw themselves into Yang Dingtian's arms, even more resolutely and quickly. Moreover, Yang Dingtian was a hypocrite and had helped Zhu Qingzhu many times. Now that he had become so cunning, it was really hard for him to predict. After his rage, Zhu Qingzhu couldn't wait to declare war on Yang Dingtian. But after he calmed down, he suddenly thought of something. Declare war? What was he going to use to declare war? Yang Dingtian wasn't protecting Fisher City and the Cloud Sky Pavilion. He was sending troops to occupy them. He was also representing the Tiando League to punish them. Kuei Si and Yun Kalen were chased out. Evil Way's spies were all captured. They said that after a long fierce battle, many people died, and a few thousand people were captured. You declared war on Yang Dingtian? With what? Of course there was a reason. Fisher City and the Cloud Sky Pavilion were members of the Zhongzhou Tiando League, and West Continent had no right to interfere. Yang Dingtian's entry into Fisher City and the Cloud Sky Pavilion was overstepping their authority and interfering in Zhongzhou's internal affairs. At this level, it was barely enough to start a war. At night, Zhu Qingzhu sent out an envoy to visit the major forces in Zhongzhou to sound them out. What was he trying to sound them out for? To suppress Yang Dingtian for interfering in Zhongzhou's affairs. Instantly, the leaders of Zhongzhou's forces were filled with righteous indignation. They strongly condemned Yang Dingtian for interfering in Zhongzhou's affairs and said that they would stand with the Black Heaven sect. Then, the Black Heaven sect's envoy tried to sound them out by saying that they should organize a second crusade against Yang Dingtian. Immediately, the leaders of Zhongzhou's forces shook their heads and said that after the last defeat, their morale was low, and they really could not send out troops. In the end, when the envoy comforted Zhu Qingzhu, he was so angry that he almost vomited blood again. Almost all the forces in Zhongzhou had the same attitude. Crusade against Yang Dingtian? Sure, we'll curse him to death. But what about sending out troops and sending out martial artists to suppress them? Then we can only support sect Master Zhu spiritually. Suddenly, Zhu Qingzhu had a strong impulse. That was to use the terror attack again, and destroy a few more sects to make the forces in Zhongzhou obedient. After thinking about it, he felt that he could not take the risk. At first, others could not see through his trick, but later, almost all the higher-ups of Zhongzhou's forces saw through it. Damn, Evil Wei's terrifying forces were just a brick. They would only appear when Zhu Qingzhu needed them. If they should be destroyed, they should be destroyed. If they should fail, they should fail. If they should be arrested, they should be arrested. If they should be interrogated, they should be interrogated. How could there be such a coincidence in the world? Everyone knew about it before, but they did not dare to say anything because Zhu Qingzhu and Yang Dingtian were on the same side. Now that Zhu Qingzhu was still playing the trick of destroying the Evil Wei's sects, Zhongzhou's forces would really dare to invite Yang Dingtian to Zhongzhou and launch a crusade against the Evil Wei's. Bastard! Suddenly, Zhu Qingzhu hated all the forces in Zhongzhou to the bone. They were really scared of Yang Dingtian. When they heard that Zhu Qingzhu was going to crusade against Yang Dingtian, they shook their heads like a rattledrum. Yang Dingtian, don't think that I can't do anything to you just because you're playing this trick. Zhu Qingzhu locked himself in the pavilion again. This time, he would definitely not sit by and watch Earth Fisher City and Cloud Sky Pavilion fall into Yang Dingtian's hands. He had to do something. Otherwise, he would not only lose Earth Fisher City and Cloud Sky Pavilion, but also all his power in Zhongzhou. If Yang Dingtian stole your fruit, there would be nothing you could do. These people in Zhongzhou would undoubtedly look down on you. Over the past few months, he had worked so hard to gain back the power he had gained by killing the demons with one hand of justice and the demons with the other. But now he would lose everything. How could he deal with Yang Dingtian? These fence-sitters in Zhongzhou could not be relied on. The Black Heaven sect could not do anything to Yang Dingtian. There were only two methods left. The first method was to directly fall out with Yang Dingtian and announce that he was harboring evil ways. They would openly crusade against him. However, there was a prerequisite for that, and that was to cooperate with the Vulture sect. Once the Vulture sect officially crusaded against Yang Dingtian, Yang Dingtian's doomsday would arrive. Even the fence-sitters in Zhongzhou would join in and hit Yang Dingtian when he was down. However, Zhu Qingzhu would only be a supporting character in that case. Almost all the benefits would go to the Vulture sect. He, Zhu Qingzhu, knew very well what kind of people the Vulture sect was. The second method was to raise the banner of evil ways again. All the grandmasters of the Black Heaven sect, Joyous Palace, Temple of Blood, and Ning clan would join forces and attack Earth Fisher City and Cloud Sky Pavilion in the name of Evil Wei's revenge. They would wipe out all of Yang Dingtian's experts there. Then, Zhu Qingzhu would return and take off his jacket. He would change into the banner of the Tiando League and lead the Black Heaven sect to attack Earth Fisher City and Cloud Sky Pavilion again. He would also play the part of taking back Earth Fisher City and Cloud Sky Pavilion after a fierce battle for several days. However, this way, there would be more people to split the meat. The first method was only to split the meat with the Vulture sect. The second method was to split the meat with the Joyous Palace, Temple of Blood and Ning clan. There were only these two methods. Zhu Qingzhu's main choice now was to split the meat with the Vulture sect, or with the three evil ways. He thought for an entire night, and struggled for an entire night. In the end, Zhu Qingzhu came to a decision. He would rather split the meat with the three evil ways than with the Vulture sect alone. The Vulture sect's table manners were too ugly. If they split the meat with the three evil ways, at least there would still be meat. If they split the meat with the Vulture sect, there would be no bones left. There would only be soup left. Hence, Zhu Qingzhu immediately changed his appearance and headed to the Temple of Blood and Joyous Palace to negotiate and kill Yang Dingtian together. Chapter 571. Inside the Temple of Blood. Senior Brother Dugu, please follow me to kill Yang Dingtian and divide the 15,000 miles of land in the West Continent, Zhu Qingzhu said as he bowed. Dugu Xiao smiled and said, if you are well informed, You should know that my daughter and Yang Dingtian are fated to be together. Therefore, I'm his father-in-law. That's just an ill-fated relationship, Zhu Qingzhu said. Moreover, my son is also under Yang Dingtian and has become his sworn brother. However, this doesn't stop me from killing Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian can't be killed, De Guxiao said. Zhu Qingzhu said, I can't kill him, but it doesn't mean that senior brother Dugu can't. Crown Prince Li Ming has commanded the world, so Yang Dingtian can't die. Of course, we don't dare to disobey, but in the position of the temple, senior brother Dugu is the one who is above everyone else. You can ignore Crown Prince Li Ming's command. De Guxiao shook his head and said, I'm only waiting for His Majesty Demon King's resurrection. I don't care about anything else. Moreover, what's the point of dividing the West Continent? Of the 15,000 miles of land in the Temple of Blood, 2,000 miles are still in ruins. What's the point of having so much land? Evil ways are due to the lack of population, but the West Continent is different. It has a large population and is prosperous, Zhu Qingzhu said. Now, the 15,000 miles of land of chaos has been taken care of by Yang Dingtian. Once we defeat Yang Dingtian, the 15,000 miles of land of chaos has been taken care of. Once we defeat Yang Dingtian, the 15,000 miles of land of chaos, the 1,000 miles of Cloud Heaven City's territory, and the 5,000 miles of northern land will all belong to the Temple of Blood. De Guxiao was stunned and said, Brother Zhu, you are really generous. This way, the land of the Temple of Blood will be 10,000 miles. I, Zhu Qingzhu, have always been generous, Zhu Qingzhu said. It's a pity that it's written clearly on my clothes and the hat on my head. Evil ways, Temple of Blood. De Guxiao said. Therefore, it's still possible to govern the land of chaos with the identity of the evil ways. But it's impossible to govern Cloud Sky City and the Northern Underworld Assembly. Evil ways breaking out of the fringe means the beginning of the Great War. Zhu Qingzhu said, You don't have to rule personally. You can just stay behind the scenes. These territories could still be rightfully under Cloud Sky City's name. At that time, Yang Dingtian would be imprisoned. With him as a hostage, it shouldn't be difficult to force Yang Peipei and the people of Cloud Heaven City to work for you. Moreover, I remember that you have a grandson who is Yang Dingtian's son. In the future, the Demon King will definitely unify the world. Shouldn't you leave behind a large foundation for your biological grandson? De Guxiao said, It seems that you are much more well-informed than I thought. You didn't deliberately hide it either, Zhu Qingzhu said. I already deliberately hid it. It's your eyes and ears that are too smart, De Guxiao said. Then what does Brother Dugu think? Zhu Qingzhu asked. I will stay out of this, De Guxiao said indifferently. I said before that I will definitely not betray His Majesty the Demon King. However, Yang Dingtian is my grandson's father. I will not follow you to kill him. Alright then. You don't have to make a move on Yang Dingtian. You just have to help kill Qin Wanqiu. Zhu Qingzhu said. With you around, you might be able to ensure that Yang Dingtian doesn't die. I know that Joyous Palace Master hates Yang Dingtian to the bone. So he will definitely be very willing to kill Yang Dingtian. Forget it, you guys go, De Guxiao said. If Yang Dingtian is killed just like that, then he deserves it. Although I'm his father-in-law, I won't get involved in this kind of rotten matter for him. I'm not a human being. Many thanks, Senior Brother Dugu. Zhu Qingzhu bowed. De Guxiao shook his head. You came to beg me not to fight, but not to help Yang Dingtian, right? I am ashamed, Zhu Qingzhu said. You are overthinking. I will not betray the Demon King Wentian, De Guxiao said. But I will tell him about your actions. This is not too much, right? Zhu Qingzhu's face twisted. He said helplessly, Senior Brother Dugu, you are really straightforward. And then go to Joyous Palace. There is still a long way to go. I will go to Cloud Sky Pavilion now, De Guxiao said. Oh right, Yang Dingtian is in Cloud Sky Pavilion, right? Yes. Zhu Qingzhu was speechless. In the end, Zhu Qingzhu could not help but ask, What will make you attack Yang Dingtian? It is very simple. Once His Majesty Demon King gives the order, I will go, De Guxiao said. In fact, once he revives, you and I will not have the will to resist. At that time, you will have your own will. What he gives you is yours. If he does not give you, you and I will be walking corpses. Zhu Qingzhu said helplessly. Senior brother Dugu, you are still so direct. Then I will take my leave. And let's go together. Dugu Xiao said. One of us will go northeast, and the other will go southeast. Then, the two of them left the Temple of Blood together. Zhu Qingzhu flew northeast. Another 10,000 miles, and they would arrive at the Joyous Palace. The Joyous Palace was more than 10,000 miles north of the Temple of Blood. It was a large island in the depths of the frozen sea. To its west was the Yin-Yang Mirror, to its southeast was the Demon Domain, and to its northeast was the world of ice and snow. So when it came to remote places, the Joyous Palace was the most remote of all places. Moreover, its geographical environment was unprecedentedly complicated. A few hours later, the Cloud Sky Pavilion welcomed a guest. Instantly, the entire Cloud Sky Pavilion acted as if they were facing a great enemy. Only Yang Dingtian and Qin Wanchou's expressions did not change much. This was because only these two people had interacted with Dugu Xiao before. Song Zhao's level was not high enough, let alone the others. Qin Wanchou, please come out for a chat. Dugu Xiao actually asked Qin Wanchou to come out to meet him, and not Yang Dingtian. Qin Wanchou flew 100 miles, and met Dugu Xiao in the sky above the sea. Senior brother Dugu, you really dote on your son-in-law. You're afraid others will think you're involved with evil ways. So you asked me to come out to meet you, Qin Wanchou said. It didn't matter before, but now that you're the head of the Council of Light, you have to be more careful, Dugu Xiao said. Then my reputation is no longer a reputation? Qin Wanchou said helplessly. You Qin Wanchou are two-faced. Everyone knows that, so it doesn't matter, Dugu Xiao said. Senior brother Dugu, you're still so straightforward, Qin Wanchou said. That's what Zhu Qingzhu said too, Dugu Xiao said. Zhu Qingzhu went to find you? Qin Wanchou asked. Dugu Xiao said, yes. He came to find me, the Joyous Palace, and probably the Ning clan of the Southern Sea. First, he used the name of Evil Ways to destroy the Sky Cloud Pavilion and Earth Shatter City, killing all the experts of the Council of Light. Then, he used the Tiando League's banner to defeat the Evil Ways and take over the two places. From then on, he would be invincible in the West and Central continents. What a good plan, Qin Wanchou said. It's not really a good plan. I was forced into a corner by you guys, Dugu Xiao said. Alright, that's all. I'm going back. Then, Dugu Xiao went up north and returned to the Temple of Blood. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared without a trace. Zhu Qingzhu will work with the Joyous Palace and the Ning clan of the Southern Sea to destroy us with martial arts, Yang Dingtian said. Martial Uncle Qin, how many grandmasters does the Joyous Palace have? The Temple of Blood has 2 grandmasters. The Joyous Palace has 2 grandmasters. The number of grandmasters is unknown, but it shouldn't be less than 10, Qin Wanchou said. Other than Dugu Xiao, the Temple of Blood has another grandmaster? Yang Dingtian said in astonishment. He had never heard of this before. In every sect, there are some old farts that are more than 100 years old, Qin Wanchou said. Because of the blood pool, the Temple of Blood's cultivation has improved by leaps and bounds, but their lifespans aren't long. However, every generation of the Temple of Blood has someone who quits the blood pool. There was one in the previous generation. He had tortured his opponents to death, and he had also become a great grandmaster. Of course, this generation's Dugu Xiao also quits the blood pool and became a grandmaster early. How is the cultivation of the Joyous Palace's master, Gudu Iran? How is he compared to Dugu Xiao? Yang Dingtian asked. Putting aside Walingzi, Wu Yu, Queen Devil Queen, and the Demon King Wentian, the number 1 expert in the world should be Zhu Qingzhu, Qin Wanchou said. But other than those who just broke through to the Grandmaster level, the rest of the Grandmasters have about the same cultivation. Zhu Qingzhu is the strongest, an 8-star Grandmaster. I'm barely a 7-star Grandmaster. Gudu Iran is about the same as me. Dugu Xiao should be stronger than me, maybe even a little stronger than Zhu Qingzhu. Instantly, Yang Dingtian was astonished. Du Guxiao is stronger than Zhu Qingzhu? I'm just guessing, Qin Wanqiu said. Qin Wanqiu said, Du Guxiao's mystic veins talent might not be higher, but his understanding of martial arts is more profound. In this case, including the 2 grandmasters from the Joyous Palace, Zhu Qingzhu has a total of 6 grandmasters. That's more than 40 grandmasters, Yang Dingtian said. The Black Heaven sect alone had more than 20 grandmasters. Including the Joyous Palace and the South Seas Ning clan, there were more than 40 grandmasters. Of course, the West Continent's Council of Light, Fisher City, and Cloud Sky Pavilion would not make much of a difference, even if there were less than 40 grandmasters. However, the disparity in the number of grandmasters on both sides was too great. The other side had a total of 6 grandmasters, while Yang Dingtian only had 3. Of course, Zhu Qingzhu believed that Yang Dingtian's side only had 2 grandmasters. But even if there were 3, there was still too much of a disparity compared to 6. When the time came, if both sides really fought, it would be a devastating outcome. Judging from the current strength of the forces, the disparity was too great. If they fought with all their might, all the grandmasters in the West Continent would probably be wiped out. Only the grandmasters could barely escape. Qin Wanqiu looked at Yang Dingtian. Sect Master, you probably need to make a trip to Immeasurable Mountain. Yes, he had to make a trip to the Yinyang School in Immeasurable Mountain. The Yinyang School was the world's #1 school apart from the hidden sect. It had 4 grandmasters before. Dongfang Minmi and Leng Qingshan disappeared. But the Yinyang School still had 2 grandmasters. As long as they invited these 2 grandmasters, Yang Dingtian's side would have a total of 5 grandmasters. Although they were still at a disadvantage, they could still put up a fight. 10 hours later, Qin Wanqiu returned to the West Continent to guard the West capital. Dongfang Minmi rushed to the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Then, he and Yang Dingtian rode on the Demon Eagle King and flew to the Yinyang School. Chapter 572. Most of the time, Yinyang School was the #1 school in the world. However, ever since Dongfang Bingling and Leng Qingshan went missing, Yinyang School had lost its reputation and kept an unusually low profile. During the First Heaven Dao Union Conference, during the crusade against Yang Dingtian, the Yinyang sect's representative, Leng Ao, immediately announced his abstention and left. During the Second Tiando League Assembly hosted by Zhu Qingzhu, Yinyang School's representative abstained from participating in the Tiando League because of Yang Dingtian's crimes. As the #1 school in the world, not only did they not uphold justice, they abstained from participating in the Tiando League Assembly again and again. This was a fatal blow to Yinyang School's reputation. Therefore, it was extremely unusual for them to keep such a low profile. Yinyang School was located in Eastern Cloud State. It was considered a large island and was part of the East Continent. The entire martial arts civilization in the chaotic continent was divided into 3 parts: the East Continent, the Middle Continent, and the West Continent. Among the 3 continents, the East Continent was the smallest, but had the highest status. Compared to the Middle Continent and the West Continent, the East Continent was much more powerful. There were not many cities, armies, dukes, or castles in the East Continent. However, there was one thing that was abundant in the East Continent: the number of martial artists. The population of the East Continent was less than 1/3 of that of the Middle Continent. There were also fewer 3 sects, 9 clans, and 27 branches. However, the number of martial artists was more than twice that of the Middle Continent. Therefore, the East Continent was a relatively pure martial arts continent. Yinyang School was undoubtedly the holy land of martial arts. Eastern Cloud State was about 30 to 40,000 miles away from the Middle Continent. The entire journey was covered by the vast ocean. Yang Dingtian and Dongfang Minmi rode the Demon Eagle for 2 days and 2 nights before arriving at Eastern Cloud State. However, Yang Dingtian was the only one who landed in Eastern Cloud State. His master Dongfang Minmi had other plans. It had been a full 3 years since Yang Dingtian had last set foot on the central state. Yang Dingtian walked on the quaint streets of Eastern Cloud Prefecture, still unable to calm down. 3 years ago, when he set foot on this land, His heart was filled with immaturity, fantasy, uneasiness, and of course anticipation. Initially, he thought that he would not be able to step foot on this land until his battle with Dongfang Bingling. He did not expect that he would have to come to Yinyang School before his battle with Dongfang Bingling. Eastern Cloud State was not a very big city compared with the big cities in Zhongzhou State, and even the West Continent. It was much more delicate and beautiful, and also much simpler. Walking on the streets here would also be much more peaceful. Walking on the mountain path of the immeasurable mountain, even though the Yinyang sect had kept a low profile, it was still the holy land of martial arts. Therefore, there was still an endless stream of visitors to Yinyang School. The wide stone path leading up the mountain had already become smooth. Yang Dingtian strolled around by himself. Suddenly, the people around him could not help but look at him curiously. Then, all of them secretly looked at Yang Dingtian. Thanks to Zhu Qingzhu's arrest warrant, almost the entire world knew about Yang Dingtian. Therefore, almost everyone on the road felt that the person in front of them really resembled Yang Dingtian. However, no one could be sure that it was Yang Dingtian. After all, it was a portrait, not a photograph. Moreover, most people thought so. Yang Dingtian was a big shot now. He was the ruler of the West Continent, one of the most powerful people in the world. That extravagance must be incomparably grand. It must be clear water splashing on the streets, and tens of thousands of people opening the way for him. The person in front of them was wearing ordinary clothes, and he did not even have a mount. How could he be Yang Dingtian? Nevertheless, many people could not help but look at Yang Dingtian and point at him. He walked to the front gate of Yinyang School. It was a square in the middle of the mountain. It was carved out of the ground. At that moment, there were still hundreds of martial artists lining up in a long line, hoping to enter the Yinyang School. They could either worship or learn martial arts. Of course, less than 1% of them could actually enter the Yinyang School. When Yang Dingtian walked to the front gate, the martial artists in the line immediately shouted, "Line up! Line up! You're not allowed to cut in line." The Yinyang School disciple guarding the gate also said coldly, "You're not allowed to cut in line. You have no manners at all. You can leave now. Don't even think about entering the Yinyang School for the rest of your life." Yang Dingtian took out a fire jade token and said, "Please go in and report that Yang Dingtian of the West Continent has come to visit." Instantly, there was a dead silence in the area. Almost instantly, all eyes were fixed on Yang Dingtian. Everyone had a look of utter disbelief on their faces. To everyone present, Yang Dingtian was already a legendary figure. He was even a legend among legends. The most powerful figure they had ever seen in their lives did not even have a seat in front of Yang Dingtian. Even the most powerful figure they could come into contact with did not even have the qualifications to meet Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian was definitely approachable. Whether it was with the Black Blood Cavalry, the Demon Dragon Army, or the Demon Vulture Army, they would often eat together and fight together. Yang Dingtian even set off fireworks with the ordinary citizens of Cloud Sky City, walked and chatted with them. However, his duty meant that he was destined to be separated from the majority of the people in this world. And now, he had appeared before everyone, alive and well. Although this feeling was not as exaggerated as an emperor visiting incognito, it was not far from it. Of course, Yang Dingtian could have directly landed in the Yinyang School without anyone knowing. However, after discussing with Dongfang Minmi, they still decided to use this method to enter the Yinyang School. This was because they had already received news that the second-in-command of the Black Sky sect, Zhu Qingzhu's martial uncle, and Zhu Hongyu had already come to the Yinyang School a few hours ago. After that disciple received Yang Dingtian's command token, his entire body was trembling. He couldn't even hold on to the command token. He quickly grabbed it with both hands and spoke with a trembling voice. Please wait for a moment. I will go and report this." Then, he took Yang Dingtian's token and ran in as fast as he could. He could not even speak clearly, and did not know how to salute. After hearing Yang Dingtian's name, he only felt his brain explode. Then, he did not know anything else. He could only instinctively grab the token turn around and run in to report. You are really City Lord Yang Dingtian? Next to him, a teenager plucked up his courage and asked. Yes, Yang Dingtian replied. Instantly, the hundreds of disciples in front of the Yinyang School's mountain gate took a few dozen steps back. When they were a few dozen meters away from Yang Dingtian, they all knelt down. Greetings, City Lord Yang Dingtian. Greetings, Sect Leader Yang Dingtian. Greetings, Guild Leader Yang Dingtian. There were really all kinds of titles. Those who called Yang Dingtian Guild Leader were called because Yang Dingtian had established the Council of Light, so Yang Dingtian had become the guild leader. Of course, the reason why they knelt down and saluted was not because they had anything to ask of Yang Dingtian. In fact, these people were either worshipping the Yinyang School or learning from a master, so they did not have anything to ask of Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian's status was too high, and they wouldn't be able to ask Yang Dingtian for help with their matters. They knelt down and saluted because they had seen a legendary figure, the leader of the Taekwondo League. It was an instinctive reaction. Of course, Yang Dingtian's reputation in the chaotic realm was very polarized. Some people admired him greatly, while others disliked him greatly. After all, Zhu Qingzhu and the evil ways had been defaming Yang Dingtian for a long time, and the Yinyang School's attitude toward Yang Dingtian was also very cold. However, even those who were extremely opposed to Yang Dingtian would lose their stance when they saw Yang Dingtian. This was because almost all of the people present were low-level martial artists. To them, having a stance was too extravagant. However, their kneeling made Yang Dingtian a little flustered. He quickly waved his hand and said, Get up, get up. There's no need for this. There's no need for this. After the hundreds of low-level martial artists got up, both sides fell into silence. They only stared at Yang Dingtian with burning eyes, but they did not know what to say. They did not have the guts to chat and greet him directly, or to directly talk about their views on the Council of Light. Thus, both sides were in a deadlock. Of course, many people wanted to say that they admired Yang Dingtian, but they found that they could not say it. Finally, Lung Ao led people over and eased Yang Dingtian's awkwardness. Yinyang School's Lung Ao greets City Lord Yang. Lung Ao cupped his hands and saluted. Yang Dingtian bowed and said, Yang Dingtian greets senior brother Lung. City Lord Yang, please come in, Lung Ao said. Please, Yang Dingtian said. Then, Lung Ao led Yang Dingtian into the Yinyang School. After walking for a long time, the low-level martial artists present came to their senses. Someone could not help but say, Sect Leader Yang is here, but the Yinyang School's leader is not here. At the very least, all the members of the Yinyang School's Elder Council should come out to welcome him. It's not appropriate to send Lord Lung Ao alone to welcome him. Instantly, everyone present nodded. It was indeed not appropriate. Even if Yang Dingtian was only the leader of the entire West Continent, he was already on equal footing with Zhu Qingzhu and the Yinyang School's leader. Not to mention, Yang Dingtian was also the leader of the hidden sect. He was already the top leader of the entire Taekwondo League. Therefore, regardless of his status, the Yinyang School's leader was not here, and the entire Yinyang School should come out to welcome him. It was in accordance with etiquette. Now, only Lung Ao was sent out to welcome him. This was considered inferior, because Lung Ao was not even a member of the Elder Council. Of course, if Yang Dingtian was only the Lord of Cloud Sky City, then there was nothing wrong with sending Lung Ao. This was because the Yinyang School viewed Cloud Sky City as a traitor. Therefore, when Shiman Wuya came personally back then, only an ordinary elder of the Yinyang School came out to welcome him. Although Yang Dingtian was the Lord of Cloud Sky City, he was one generation younger than Shiman Wuya. Therefore, Lung Ao was sent out to welcome him. Therefore, the Yinyang School's attitude right now was to treat Yang Dingtian as the Lord of Cloud Sky City. After entering the Yinyang School, only Lung Ao received him. Moreover, it was in the side hall. The main hall should be receiving Black Sky Sect's Grand Elder Ning Yixing and Zhu Hongyu. Lord Yang, why have you come to my Yinyang School? Lung Ao went straight to the point. I want to pay a visit to Mistress first, then we can talk about business, Yang Dingtian said. Lung Ao nodded and said, "Please follow me." Then, Lung Ao brought Yang Dingtian to Mistress's little paradise. Inyang School was on the upper half of vast immeasurable mountain, so it was covered in white snow everywhere. Only Mistress's little paradise was nourished by hot springs, and had special soil. Therefore flowers bloomed all year round, just like spring. When they arrived at the entrance of Little Paradise, the door was closed. The entire wall was covered with vines and grass, looking very desolate. It was obvious that the door had not been opened for a very long time. Originally, Little Paradise was like a fairyland, full of birds and fragrant flowers. Now it was desolate and bleak. Moreover, Little Paradise was quite far from Inyang School. It was located in a remote area of vast immeasurable mountain. Lung Ao did not explain. Ever since Yang Dingtian was chased out and injured by Dongfang Bingling, Mistress had saved Yang Dingtian. However, she was unwilling to forgive Dongfang Bingling. Therefore, after returning, she immediately closed the door and never opened it again. She said that she would only open the door to Little Paradise if Yang Dingtian returned to Inyang School and became the Inyang School's principal to pick her up. Otherwise, she would not leave Little Paradise until she died of old age. 3 years ago, Yang Dingtian was humiliated and chased out of Inyang School. He was beaten to the brink of death. Not only could Mistress not forgive Dongfang Bingling, but she also could not forgive herself. She felt that she was not capable enough to fulfill her husband's request and protect Yang Dingtian. "Madam, Lung Ao requests to see you," Lung Ao said loudly. "No, please leave." A woman's voice came from inside. "We will mind our own business. Our Little Paradise will not step into Inyang School. I hope you will not disturb our peace." This was the voice of Mistress's maid. Yang Dingtian had seen this girl before. Her name seemed to be Hong Xiao. Lung Ao did not speak again. Instead, he looked at Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian suppressed his excitement and tried hard not to let his voice tremble. He said, "Disciple Yang Dingtian is here to greet Mistress." Yang Dingtian's voice was not loud, but it was enough to spread throughout Little Paradise. Inside the high wall, it suddenly became quiet. Then a series of footsteps ran over quickly. As the footsteps ran, the sound of crying could be heard. A few minutes later, the door of the courtyard, which had been sealed for a long time, was opened. The vines and grass on the door were torn off. Behind the door, Mistress's haggard and beautiful face was full of tears. She looked at Yang Dingtian in disbelief. She was full of extreme surprise and surprise. Yang Dingtian's whole body trembled. His eyes instantly turned red. His eyes suddenly became hot. Then he immediately went forward and knelt down. But before he knelt down, he was directly held in Mistress's arms. Xiaotian, my child, Mother will never be able to see you again. I miss you all the time." The master's wife hugged Yang Dingtian with all her might and cried loudly. Then, Mistress desperately wanted to speak, but she could not speak at all. She could only cry and cry. In the past few years, she had been locked in Little Paradise. She had not even seen Dongfang Bingling. She was completely isolated from the world. In fact, she and Yang Dingtian had only known each other for less than 2 days. But in Yang Dingtian's heart, she was the closest family member in the world. And for Mistress, in the past 3 years, guilt, responsibility, and worry had all turned into deep longing. Because of the blame for Dongfang Bingling, and because Dongfang Bingling was too cold and independent, she transferred all the love of her children to Yang Dingtian. Therefore, in her heart, Yang Dingtian was already her son, not just her husband's disciple. After crying for a quarter of an hour, Yang Dingtian could only rub her back hard and inject qi into her to prevent her crying from hurting her body. Mistress hugged him tightly and cried for a while. Then, she let go and looked at Yang Dingtian's face. She was worried that everything in front of her was not real. After seeing clearly, she hugged Yang Dingtian and cried bitterly. "Madam, you can't cry anymore. Let the young master come home quickly." Hong Xiao stepped forward and said softly, "Yes, yes." Mistress wiped away her tears and said gently to Yang Dingtian, "Little Tian, have you eaten?" "Not yet," Yang Dingtian said. "Then hurry up. Mistress will cook for you." She had just called herself Mistress, but now she called herself Mistress again. Then, She held Yang Dingtian's hand tightly and walked into Little Paradise. Hong Xiu walked to Lung Ao and said coldly, "Go back to where you came from. Don't stand here." Lung Ao bowed to Mistress and said, "Mistress, Lung Ao will take his leave." Mistress acted as if she didn't hear it. She held Yang Dingtian's hand and walked inside. After Hong Xiu came in, she slammed the door of the courtyard again and isolated them from the outside world. After arriving at Little Paradise, it was still as warm as spring. However, it was no longer blooming. Originally, there were flowers and gardens everywhere. Now there were vegetable fields and fields everywhere. The crops in the fields, the vegetables and fruits in the fields, and the chickens, ducks, pigs, and sheep on the grass. Although Little Paradise was not as blooming as before, it was still Little Paradise. It had a completely different kind of beauty. Obviously, in the past 3 years, Mistress and the entire Inyang school had been in a state of rupture. She was self-sufficient in food, vegetables, and fruits, and was not willing to accept the Inyang school's money. There were about a dozen girls in Little Paradise. These few acres of fields and dozens of rows of vegetable fields were all controlled by these girls. They were really not simple. The mirror-like hot spring pool was now filled with green, because it was full of aquatic plants. There were all kinds of fish in the aquatic plants. Yang Dingtian couldn't take his eyes off them, while Hong Xiu proudly observed Yang Dingtian's eyes and said, "Young master, you're amazing, right?" "Amazing." Yang Dingtian gave her a thumbs up. After entering the pavilion for 10 years, white silk was hung everywhere. It was actually freshly woven. The corners outside were also full of dried meat and dried fish. After entering the pavilion, Mistress finally let go of Yang Dingtian's hand. She put on an apron and walked into the kitchen saying, "Xiaotian, wait for a while. I'll cook for you." "Okay." Yang Dingtian smiled and followed her into the kitchen. Mistress was cooking with a smile. Hong Xiu had another maid who was in charge of the fire and cutting the vegetables. There were also assistants. Meanwhile, Yang Dingtian stood at the side and watched. Mistress's movements were very skillful. Her smile and frown were full of infinite gentleness. She was the most gentle and beautiful woman in the world, as if she had endless maternal love. However, Dongfang Bingling was cold and independent, so her maternal love could not be released at all. Mistress cooked 3 vegetarian dishes, 3 meat dishes, and a soup. Then, the 3 of them sat around the table to eat. Mistress's cooking was really good. It looked, smelled, and tasted good. Yang Dingtian ate heartily and directly added 4 bowls of rice. Mistress put down the bowl after eating 1 bowl. Then, she happily supported her chin and watched Yang Dingtian eat. At first she was still smiling. Later, when she saw Yang Dingtian eat 4 big bowls of rice in a row, her expression suddenly changed. Her eyes turned red and tears were about to flow out again. Because, she suddenly thought of the way Yang Dingtian ate. Was it because he had a hard life outside and could not even fill his stomach? Then she saw Yang Dingtian's face was full of hardships and his palms were rough. Compared to 3 years ago, he seemed to be 10 years older at this time. Mistress suddenly felt sad and almost couldn't help but cry again. Yang Dingtian saw and hurriedly said, "Mistress, I'm too busy. I usually don't have time to eat. And Mistress's cooking is too delicious, so I ate so much." "Okay," Mistress said. "Then stay here from now on. At most, Mistress will ask someone to let you stay in Inyang school and not let you suffer outside." Yang Dingtian did not know where to start. He said, "I am fine. I didn't suffer." "You must have suffered in Cloud Sky City. Senior brother Shiman is a good person, but he was injured because of you. Cloud Sky City must be hostile to you. If senior brother Shiman is not here, your life will be even more difficult," Mistress said. Mistress had indeed been completely isolated from the world for the past 3 years. "Young master, did you see Miss when you came to Inyang school this time?" Hong Xiu said. She didn't come with you to see madam. That's too much." "Hong Xiu, don't talk about her," Mistress said coldly. "I will never forgive her. I will treat it as if I don't have a daughter. From now on, I only have a son, no daughter." Speaking of Dongfang Bingling, Yang Dingtian's heart suddenly felt bitter. Mistress did not even know that Dongfang Bingling was in trouble. For a moment, Yang Dingtian really did not know where to start. Seeing Yang Dingtian put down his chopsticks, Mistress reached out and held Yang Dingtian's hand. She said softly, "Little Tian, a girl like Bingling is not worthy of your love. She will not be a good wife. My Hong Xiu is 10 times better than her. She is gentle, virtuous, beautiful and generous. Although she is 3 years older than you, she will definitely dote on you. Mistress has made the decision to betroth her to you." Suddenly, Hong Xiu's face turned red. She was at a loss and said, "Madam, what are you saying? I am just a servant. How can I be worthy of young master?" "You are not a servant. You are my adopted daughter," Mistress said. "I can't afford to have a daughter like Dongfang Bingling, so I don't want her anymore. You are my daughter, not her," she said. Every time she mentioned Dongfang Bingling, Mistress's voice was full of pain and unforgiveness. "Mistress," Yang Dingtian thought for a while and said, Don't blame Bingling. Although she is arrogant and distant, she is a good girl. Don't speak for her. I will never forgive what she has done to you," Mistress said firmly. "Actually, Bingling and I have already gone through the wedding ceremony," Yang Dingtian said. In the end, Yang Dingtian chose to start with this matter. Mistress was stunned. She looked at Yang Dingtian in disbelief and said, You and Bingling are married? Where? Why didn't I know?" Chapter 574. About a year after I left Yinyang School, I met Bingling by chance. After that, we spent almost a year together. We got to know each other and fell in love with each other. Then we went to a place called the Yinyang Mirror to get married, Yang Dingtian said. Since he didn't know how to explain, Yang Dingtian could only use the most common language to explain the matter between the two of them. Mistress's brows immediately relaxed and she said, "Little Tian, hurry up and tell me everything that happened between you and Bingling in detail." "No, tell me everything that happened after you left Yinyang School." Hong Xiu hurriedly went to brew a cup of fragrant tea and came over. Then she supported her chin and listened on the side. "When Mistress appeared, you saved us from Bingling's sword and made a 5-year promise," Yang Dingtian said. "After that, when we returned to Cloud Sky City's ship, Marshal Uncle Shiman couldn't take it anymore. Then, he betrothed Yin Yin to me and gave me the position of Cloud Sky City's lord. Then he left us." "What?" Mistress said with a trembling voice. "Senior brother Shiman, he's dead?" Yang Dingtian nodded. "How could that be? Wasn't he fine at that time?" Mistress's tears fell again like a broken string of pearls. "He fell into Zhu Qingzhu's trap. His body was infected with the soul-devouring qi, and he became a murderous demon. In order to prevent himself from becoming like that, he killed himself after watching me and Yin Yin go through the wedding ceremony," Yang Dingtian said. Mistress fell into sorrow again and sobbed hard. "Little Tian, although the whole Yinyang school treated your martial uncle Shiman as an enemy, your master treated him as a close friend. He and martial uncle Qingchen were your master's best friends in his life. Although I rarely saw your martial uncle Shiman, every time I met him, it was very pleasant. I felt that he was like a family member. Martial uncle Shiman was the same as my master. They were both elders that I respected the most in my life, just like my father," Yang Dingtian said. Master's wife then remembered and said, "But that little girl, Shiman Yinyan, has a very bad temper. She's arrogant and insensible. If you marry her, you will definitely be bullied. But for the sake of her father, you have to give in to her a little. Yinyan, she's a good girl," Yang Dingtian said. "She's very sensible and kind." That's good," Mistress said. And then, Yang Dingtian tried to use the simplest words to describe what happened after he left Yinyang School. How he married Yin Yin, how he became the lord of Cloud Sky City, how he fell in love with Dongfang Bingling by accident, and then how they got married. "Little Tian, then you're already the lord of Cloud Heaven City?" Master's wife asked in disbelief and surprise. Yang Dingtian nodded. Master's wife's beautiful eyes lit up and said, "My little Tian is really amazing." As expected, gold will shine no matter where it is. Your master and martial uncle Shiman's eyes are really amazing. They could immediately see that you will have a great future. Yang Dingtian immediately scratched his head in embarrassment. Buffed. Hong Xiu couldn't help but laugh and said, "You've already become the lord of Cloud Sky City. But you don't look like a city lord at all. You're like a child who hasn't seen the world, still scratching your head." Yang Dingtian said, "No matter what I become in front of Mistress, I will always be the little boy who met Mistress for the first time." Mistress' eyes reddened and she said, "Little Tian, although you downplay your past, I can see that you've experienced countless setbacks and hardships. You are indeed the most amazing young man in the world." Then Mistress said, "Little Tian, what about Bingling? Why didn't she come back with you? Could it be that she's still angry with me?" Yang Dingtian was stunned and didn't know how to answer. Just now, he had talked about how he and Bingling fell in love, but he didn't mention that Bingling was poisoned by the soul-devouring demon mystic, nor did he mention that Bingling had demonized. "No, how could she be angry with you? She misses you as much as I do, and she's also full of guilt for what happened that day. It's just that you know her. She doesn't know how to express it." Yang Dingtian said, She didn't come with me. She went to a faraway place and came back 2 years later." "She came back to compete with you?" Mistress asked. She was very gentle and kind, but she was also very smart. She immediately understood the meaning behind Yang Dingtian's words. "You've already bowed to heaven and earth, and become husband and wife. Why are you still competing?" Hong Xiu said, "Son-in-law, looking at you, why don't you give the Yinyang school head position to your wife? Miss looks more impressive." "Don't talk nonsense. How can a woman be the head of a school?" Mistress said, "If I win, I'll be the Yinyang school head. If I lose, Bingling will be the head," Yang Dingtian said in the most understated tone. Mistress smiled gently, but her eyebrows were filled with worry. Although Yang Dingtian didn't say it out loud, she could already tell that something had happened to Bingling. "Don't worry, Mistress. Bingling is the girl I love the most in this world. She's also the most amazing girl in this world. So one day, I'll bring her to you and hold a wedding ceremony," Yang Dingtian said. "I believe you," Mistress said gently. "Little Tian, why did you come to the Yinyang school today?" "There are 2 main things," Yang Dingtian said. "The first and most important thing is that I want to bring you to Cloud Sky City to live with me, Sister Hong Xiu, and all the other sisters in Little Paradise." This was something that Yang Dingtian had planned for a long time. Previously, Yang Dingtian was worried about the safety of the people in Cloud Sky City. Now it seemed that the people in Cloud Sky City were the safest, or even the safest in the entire world. Mistress was the mother of Princess Mudan, so no one dared to hurt her. Yang Dingtian's baby was Duge Zhao's grandson, so no one dared to hurt him. Yang Dingtian didn't know much about Duge Zhao, and thought that he was just a grandmaster. Now according to Qin Wanchou, he was even stronger than Zhu Qingzhu, and was second only to Wolingzi and Wu Yu in this world. Now that Bingling and Leng Qingchen weren't here, Mistress wasn't living well in the Yinyang school. Mistress's beautiful eyes lit up, and were filled with radiance. Then she said worriedly, "Is this okay? Will Madame Shimen have any objections?" "Don't worry. Although Madame Shimen isn't as gentle as you, she's very kind. Also she's very busy, so she doesn't have any elders at home. After you go, you can take care of the baby," Yang Dingtian said. "You've already given birth to the baby?" Mistress asked in surprise. "Yes, he's already 2 years old. He's very obedient and cute. Unfortunately, I'm very busy and don't have time to take care of him. Yingyan is taking care of him. After all, he's still young. It's best if he can help take care of him," Yang Dingtian said. That's good. We'll go now. I can't wait." Mistress's eyes lit up when she heard the word baby. She was overflowing with joy and anticipation. Hong Xiu's beautiful eyes were filled with uneasiness and anticipation. In the past 3 years, they had lived a life isolated from the world. Although they had dignity, it was very desolate. However, Cloud Sky City was a very far place, so they couldn't help but worry. "Sister Hong Xiu, don't worry. After you reach Cloud Sky City, you can go wherever you want. If you want to weave cloth or grow vegetables, Yin Yin will definitely welcome you. She'll treat you as an elder sister, Young Dingtian said. I wouldn't dare. We're just servants, Hongxiu said, covering her mouth. We don't have any servants. My nominal servant has never been nice to me. I have to be careful around her, Young Dingtian said. Then she must want to marry you. But you ignored her, Hongxiu said with a smile. Young Dingtian was stunned. Were all women's instincts so accurate? Instantly, he smiled embarrassedly. Mistress didn't notice this at all. She was already imagining how the baby would look like. Young Dingtian said with a smile. My second baby will be born soon. Mistress, you'll be busy then. It would have been better if he didn't say it. Once he said it, Mistress's eyes were already filled with stars. She immediately stood up and said, Hongxiu, let's pack up immediately. I can't wait for half a day. Let's get ready to go. Call all your sisters over. We'll go together. Then, Mistress looked at young Dingtian embarrassedly and said, Little Tian, is it okay to bring so many people? Yes, it can't be better, young Dingtian said. These sisters are probably not young anymore. They can't be single for the rest of their lives. After going to Cloud Sky City, I'll arrange a good marriage for each of them. I have many outstanding young men there. That's the best. I've been worried about their marriage for the past few years, Mistress said. At this moment, Lung Ao came from outside Little Paradise. He said, City Lord Yang, the elders have invited you over for a chat. After hearing Lung Ao's voice, Mistress's good mood seemed to be ruined. She said, Little Tian, will they make things difficult for you? Don't worry, they won't, young Dingtian said. Mistress will go with you, Mistress said. No need, Mistress. I don't have anything to ask of them. I came to Yinyang School mainly to take you away. I believe they won't dare to stop me, young Dingtian said. Okay then, Little Tian, you go and see them. Mistress will pack up here. When are we leaving? Mistress said. Then she said embarrassedly, I really can't wait. When the sky isn't dark, we'll leave, young Dingtian said. Mistress said, Hongxiu, let's go pack up immediately. Only pick the most important things. Don't bring anything else. Okay. Hongxiu immediately went to find her sisters in high spirits and began to pack up. Meanwhile, Yang Dingtian left Little Paradise and went to the Yinyang School's Elders Guild. Yang Dingtian, of course, was eager to tell Mistress about his master's resurrection, but he was directly rejected by his master. As for whether to bring Mistress back to Yinyang School, Yang Dingtian thought about it again and hesitated. This was because the West Continent was facing an unprecedented war. If Mistress had a good life in Yinyang School, then Yang Dingtian did not want to bring her back to Cloud Sky City. However, it was obvious that Mistress did not have a good life in Yinyang School. Although the West Continent was facing a war, the battlefield was near the Cloud Sky Pavilion. At least for now, no matter how fierce the war was, no one dared to harm Mistress and Bao Bao. Yin was so sensible and cute. She was more like a daughter. Hence, Mistress would definitely be happy if she went to Cloud Sky City. That was why young Dingtian finally decided to bring Mistress along. Now that he saw how happy Mistress was, his decision was not wrong. In the Yinyang School's main hall, a grand yet simple banquet was being held. The Yinyang School's Elders Guild was entertaining two distinguished guests. One was Ning Yixing, and the other was Zhu Hongyu. However, the banquet was already halfway through. Lung Ao had only invited young Dingtian to attend. It was obviously a cold reception. When they arrived at the main hall, Yang Dingtian's seat was actually the 9th seat on the right. It was even below Lung Ao's seat. Every time the Lord of Cloud Sky City came to Yinyang School, he would be humiliated. Yang Dingtian knew this very well. Yin had also mentioned it many times. However, the one who was truly humiliated was not Yang Dingtian or Shimin Wuya, but the Yinyang School itself. Shimin Wuya did not care about being humiliated at all. Moreover, after Dongfang Minmi disappeared, Shimin Wuya had almost no opponents in the world. However, every time he came to Yinyang School, he would purposely admit defeat and be humiliated. Otherwise, who in the entire Yinyang School could be his opponent? He had already taken back the Yinyang School's position a long time ago. However, for the sake of Cloud Sky City's long-term future, and for the sake of his friendship with Dongfang Minmi, he would rather be humiliated every time to help the Yinyang school. However, the Yinyang school's Elders Guild did not feel ashamed. Instead, they felt proud. It was obvious how decadent they were, how conservative they were, and how narrow-minded they were. Shimin Wuya did not care. Of course, Yang Dingtian did not care either. When Yang Dingtian walked to his seat, the Yinyang school's Elders Guild only nodded slightly in greeting. They did not greet him at all. Instead, it was Zhu Hongyu who stood up and bowed to Yang Dingtian. Zhu Hongyu greets City Lord Yang Dingtian. "Greetings, senior brother Zhu," Yang Dingtian said with a smile. In the main hall, the remaining 2 martial grandmasters of the Yinyang school were not present. Therefore, there were about 20 martial grandmasters in the main hall. Some of them were Elders Guild members, while others were not. This was the foundation of the Yinyang school. Even if they were conservative, they still had more than 20 martial grandmasters. This number was on par with the Black Heaven sect, and even more than the Northwest Qin city. "Yang Dingtian, why have you come to the Yinyang school?" The Yinyang school's Elder of Internal Affairs, Tian Shuj, asked calmly. "Asking for help?" Tian Shuj smiled faintly. "Your Cloud Sky City is a traitor of the Yinyang school. You are fighting for power, yet you actually came to the Yinyang school to ask for help. Don't you think it's funny?" "Yang Dingtian, I am not asking for help in the name of Cloud Sky City. I am asking for help in the name of the Tiando League's Council of Light. According to reliable information, Evil Ways, Joyous Palace, South Sea Ning Clan, and other forces want to attack the Cloud Sky Pavilion's Earth-splitting city. The Council of Light has mobilized all of our forces to protect these 2 forces, but we are still not strong enough. Therefore, for the sake of the Tiando League, Yinyang School, please uphold justice, support the Council of Light, and protect the Cloud Sky Pavilion and Earth-splitting city." You're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.